Imagine beautiful new windows and doors that elevate your space and keep you comfortable year-round. At Renewal by Andersen, we specialize in custom-built, energy-efficient windows and doors that are crafted to last. And just for our first 20 podcast listeners, mention our podcast offer and receive 20% off your entire project. Save now. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free in-home consultation. License number CGC 1527613.
Now to say why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
Game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. Now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
Football weather has arrived in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's going to talk with you. Hope all is well. Welcome into the game. Alabama, Oklahoma, keys to victory. We're going to be talking about that. I was on in Norman, Oklahoma. Believe it or not, they're excited about Alabama's trip. And, you do think about it from an economic standpoint. And that's what they were talking about. We did a segment out in Norman, Oklahoma. And they were talking about here comes Alabama with all the money, right? Wyatt's going to be taking some of that money out there. Going to be pouring into the local economy out in Norman, Oklahoma. When you look at buying hotels, restaurants, I know people that left, literally, I know people that call into this show that left on Wednesday morning early, headed out, just to go out and see a new experience. They were talking about this, and I never really took it for, we live in the SEC where teams travel, right? You go to Baton Rouge, you go to Knoxville, you go to Nashville, you go to Athens. They said the Big 12 really doesn't do a lot of the away travel that they're not accustomed to. You got like Oklahoma, Texas. You had Texas A&M, which they were part of the league at one point. He said you got Big 12 teams, but he said really outside of that, there's not a lot of traveling. It is a little spread out, right? I mean, the Big 12 is probably a little bit not geographical dense, but when you look at Alabama, they are excited to welcome in the Alabama Crimson Tide from a tourism standpoint, and hopefully we're going out there to get a victory. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. Also, I will prepare you because you're already starting to see it. You're hearing all these different reporters from different parts of the region. You go to Knoxville, they're defending Tennessee. Oh, Tennessee. And I do understand it, even though I'm not going to feel sorry for them. I never feel sorry for the Tennessee Volunteers for what they made us go through or, was the tattletale or whatever word you want to use. But the Tennessee Volunteers, their media is already out there because I think they kind of see it coming. Alabama beats Oklahoma. They beat Auburn. Alabama goes to Atlanta because Missouri's going to beat Mississippi State. At least we hope so. Or they'll beat Arkansas, and they'll have a chance to go to Atlanta and play the SEC title. And you're already starting to see it set up because the narrative is being spun, even so much that you had Greg Sankey, and even though this is one of his teams, you're starting to see it over in the ACC. You're seeing it out on the West when you look at trying to defend Colorado and looking at this. But Greg Sankey put out a tweet just a little bit ago talking about strength of schedule in college football. He does seem to be a trend that's identified. Georgia, strength of schedule, 1-1-1-1-1, all the way across. Alabama, 16 according to ESPN. Massey's got him at 5. The Sagarin Rays got him at 9. Tennessee does have a pretty strong strength of schedule, but everybody's not getting in. I mean, this 10-2 stuff, hey, it looks good, and the narrative is out there. And then Mr. Tim Brando comes back with his tweet and says, the man's just doing his job, keeping it, feeding the base. Yeah, the SEC still playing 8 games, not 9 as promised by now, and gets away with playing FCS teams in November. All due respect to the commissioners. Some trends aren't just statistical. The metrics are with you. We get it. Well, I mean, take that right there. Take that comment. And you could go to Knoxville. I could read you off tweets from reporters up there or articles that discussing the Tennessee Volunteers and why they should or should not be a part of it. I do understand it from a Tennessee perspective, but I'm not going to feel sorry for them. How would you like to know that you beat Alabama head-to-head and then Alabama somehow jumps you? The king kind of gets his way. So that's all I can say about that. And I threw out that theory yesterday, even though it was a deep conspiracy that has no validity whatsoever. It is, the opponent's winning percentage matters, and maybe that's one of the reasons why keeping those games so close. Maybe South Carolina found confidence in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, right? LSU, we destroyed you guys, but maybe some of these other teams like the Missouri Tigers, I don't know if they found confidence against Alabama, but not being completely knocked out was a really good thing. Alabama basketball gets a big win. That was nice. How about the SEC Network? Want to give you guys a real big applaud. I love volleyball. Not really, but I'm supposed to say that. Florida, Auburn, it doesn't really do it for me. My colleague, Barry Sanderson, reminded us if you win another set, we may have missed the entire first half. Because I think if Auburn had went one more set or Florida had went one more set, I don't really care. I mean, I didn't even watch the score. I just get it over here. Get off. But I think we got into the game. It was about 17-10. I think it's when the SEC Network, I guess that's one benefit. They'll get you. That's a good way to sell tickets is let the SEC Network block you in. But the SEC Network airing a little volleyball, I'm sure that's a very important game for those grandparents, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, all those different things. But in volleyball, listen, I have nothing against volleyball, right? I've got a couple of friends of mine that their daughters play it. I got a guy I have lunch with. His daughter is a collegiate volleyball player over in the state of Mississippi. Got another guy that's a friend of mine that his daughter plays over in the state of Mississippi, college volleyball. So volleyball is important, but Alabama-Illinois is one of the biggest games of the evening, and the eyes of college basketball were upon Birmingham, Alabama, and we didn't get a chance to see that first. But we did get a chance to see it, and that's important. But surely there's another way. I mean, we've had all types of streaming problems with the Tyson fight from last Friday. Can we not create multiple alternate channels and say, hey, if this gets started, ESPN's got 90 different channels. Can we not throw that thing over here and give you a little bit? White, you were there at the game, so you have no clue what you were talking about, do you?
No, so I was...
Did you see Social Network melting down, though?
I was just live tweeting the game, and then, we got to that first kind of timeout that Alabama took, and so I'm scrolling Twitter in that timeout, and I see just my timeline is flooded with people saying, what in the world is going on? Why are we watching Auburn and Florida volleyball right now when you've got the biggest game potentially of the week in college basketball going on, and we can't watch it? There's no way to watch that game. I mean, I saw people trying to jump on, apps, streaming services, streams that we won't plug because they're not exactly legal, and all of it was airing volleyball for Auburn and Florida. You could not get that game for the first 3 or 4 minutes unless you were sitting in that arena.
Like I said, volleyball is important, okay? We're not trying to discount sports, okay? I'll let you pick and choose which ones are popular and which ones are not popular. And we keep laughing because the wind keeps sucking this door wide open over here. Why? Don't worry about it. I'm going to send it to break, and I'll fix it in a second. But all right, so we'll do that. We're always powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyline Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. Ooh, another rant coming out of Baton Rouge. Is that true? I just
is it our buddy? Is he got another one?
It's our buddy. Oh, we're gonna. I don't know if it's clean version. We might be able to play it. I mean, listen, when you don't have a playoff to battle for, or you're not battling for a championship, I think it's on Instagram. By the way, and we'll see. But it's like our friends Auburn. They're over here making up kind of fake stories. But I mean, listen, you got 4 wins. What else do you have to do? I mean, you don't have anything else to do, so you just throw stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. Wayne in Northport, we'll get to you after we talk to Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. We'll talk to Bruce Marshall. We'll talk to Brad Powers. And there is a chance that we have a very special guest. We'll do it either today or tomorrow. later in the show. If this guy gets airport-wise, arrival is scheduled to be on time, he may text me and he may jump on in the 4 o'clock hour. If not, we may get him tomorrow as well. So it's a guy that I think you'll want to hear about. So we'll talk more about that as we travel on. Tuscaloosa Toyota powers the program. TuscaloosaToyota.com, 3325 Skyland Boulevard, and online at TuscaloosaToyota.com. The great dealership right there on Skyland Boulevard. Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com.
And you know you can't touch this. Look in my eyes, man, you can't touch this.
And I know this guy remembers 2002, and 2002 gives us a chance to reflect on, the dark days of Alabama Crimson Tide football and NCAA. That's why we're enjoying watching them. But that last trip to Norman, Oklahoma, I bet this guy could tell you exactly how they started the game. Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, TiderInsider.com. He could probably even remember the kicker that kicked the kick, the onside kick. Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Rodney, I hope all is well. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Yeah, you're really challenging me right off the bat. I can remember a lot of things about that game. Now, see, I knew before the game, I think they had 20 plays scripted. I told somebody the night before, I said, my understanding of the 20 plays Alabama had scripted, 15 of them were pass plays. Can you believe that, Dennis Franchione? They had 15 plays. Now, I only say that to say this, Ryan. You mentioned an onside kick, right?
I did.
That's what you were.
Yes.
Yeah, you were referring to.
That's how we started in Norman last time.
Bama faked the punt too.
They did.
Oklahoma got up big in the first half, as you remember, and in the second half, Franchione, he decided that he was just going to run the ball. I think he was afraid, or his goal was, hey, let's just don't get embarrassed. And what happened when they started running the ball with Ahmad Galloway and et cetera, Alabama took over the line of scrimmage and started dominating the game on both sides of the line of scrimmage. You see, what I'm telling you, Ryan, is Franchione underestimated his team. Alabama was better at the line of scrimmage than Oklahoma was. And Oklahoma was ranked, what were they ranked? 2, 3, something like that
in
the
the
country?
Up there. Yeah, they were up there. Big.
Yeah. See, but he underrated his team. And I only say that, too. The bigger picture is, I think he underrated what he could have done here at Alabama. And that's why I think he got out of here, because he didn't think the expectations, he didn't think he could live up to them.
And I think when you start talking about punting in the early 2000s, there was a guy by the name of Lane Bearden.
Lane Bearden. Yep.
Yeah.
He faked the punt in that game, right?
I think you're dead on it. And if I'm trying to think if he was, because that was his senior season, and this young man, I'll never forget it, tore his ACL and still punted for the University of Alabama with a knee brace.
Mark Tomerdahl, who was on that staff with Franchione, I mean, he said this publicly, but he said, one thing you can't measure about these kids, of course, Lane Bearden was with Tyler Watts. They played at Pelham together. And he said, you cannot measure these kids from Alabama. You cannot. When they put that crimson jersey on, it's like they play like Superman. I thought that was a great quote. I think Lane Bearden, I mean, he sold out, right? I mean, he didn't care that he had that torn ACL. He was playing, and I think he probably even faked the punt on it. So that's just the way it was. But Oklahoma won that game, as you remember. Ronaldo Works was a running back. I think they did one of those little shovel passes that's hurt Alabama this year. And he busted it for about 47 yards and kind of turned the game around at the end. And then, of course, Tyler had the ball slip out of his hand, when he went to throw it, and they returned it for a touchdown, 37-27. But, so now this is Alabama's first time to go back up there since then.
It is. And, the folks in Norman, I was on earlier this morning out in Norman, and they're excited from an economic standpoint from Alabama. And I did not know this. You lived in Big 12 country at that point. I guess it was Big 8. But if you think about it, he said that out in the Big 12, they didn't really travel as much. He said that's one of the things that they're having to adjust to in the SEC is the SEC fans travel. Like they get in a bus or a plane and drive a car. He said that's the one thing that's been a little bit overwhelming to them as the SEC is the tourism that it brings to their city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point because, all they really did was they went to Lubbock, they went to Waco, they went to Austin, they went to College Station. That was about as far as they went. Arkansas was but see, at that time, Arkansas was already in the SEC, had been in the SEC for 10 years. And, of course, Oklahoma was formerly in the big, they were in this was before the SWC. I'm talking about when the SWC was still in play. So that's when Arkansas was in the Southwest Conference, but they never really played Oklahoma unless they played them in a bowl game. So, but anyway, your point is about the travel, and you're right.
Rodney, when you look at this team, the way that this team has been able to navigate this, I mean, it's kind of funny that we're sitting here talking about a team that could win the SEC to compare to where we were at following the Vanderbilt, South Carolina game. Not a lot of confidence grown in that game. You go to Knoxville the week after, you lose that game. You come back to Missouri, then you get the bye week. It just the up and downs roller coaster, but it seems like this team has found the momentum at the right time.
Yeah, I think so. It sure looks like they're kind of playing with a lot more consistency when you look at, just the last 3 games since what you talked about. Those last 3 games, Missouri, LSU, Mercer, they've turned the ball over. They've created 9 turnovers, Alabama has defensively, and they've turned it over 0 times. So they're playing a lot cleaner, Ryan. That's kind of what we talked about here on your segment many times was, what's it going to take for Alabama to play better? And just clean up what you're doing. I mean, and that's what they've done. They've just cleaned up a lot of things, and they're playing with a lot more consistency. And I think, too, if you kind of look at, I think Nick Sheridan, offensive coordinator, and the offensive staff, of course, Kalen DeBoer, have done some things offensively a little bit differently than you threw it 45 times against Tennessee, which just kind of got out of whack. And then you come back against Missouri, and you could see it right early in that game. Alabama was throwing quick, short passes to build some rhythm, build some confidence in Jalen Milroe, and then you work from there. And then they only threw it 18 times against LSU. Now, maybe the weather had a little bit to do with that, but they threw it 18 times against LSU, and then they threw it, Milroe threw it 16 times in this last game. And I understand he only played about half. But, those other guys threw it more. You kind of get my drift, Ryan. They've kind of changed some things offensively and balanced it out with the run and the pass a little bit more.
Yeah, and you look back at the Missouri game. It seemed like that offensive staff and Nick Sheridan said, you know what, we can lean on these backs. We can get these guys involved in the game. And to me, they found confidence in a play calling scheme. And I know that they have not added. I mean, there's no way you can just pour your entire offense in a few weeks. But it's as the week has progressed, or the weeks have progressed, it's like they add a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And with Jalen Milroe's running and escapability, extending the play, this team's going to be hard to beat if they can continue this momentum.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And it's kind of like last year because Tommy Rees didn't know who was going to be the quarterback for a few games. Obviously Milroe started the season, then he was benched in the South Florida game. Then he came back and finally was determined to be the starter against Ole Miss the week after the USF game. And then they started kind of building the offense, and you saw it kind of change in that bye week before LSU last year a little bit. And just the same thing. I mean, I think similar in terms of they tweaked some things. And so right now, again, play consistently, play clean. That's really important when you go on the road like what they're doing this weekend, Ryan, because you're going to go in night game, 6:30. It's going to be a hostile environment. You know that. The Oklahoma fans, they're kind of beat down right now. They don't feel really good about their team. They're 5-5. They're 1-5 in the SEC, and they do have a good defense. They have a really good defense. That defense probably won the game at Auburn for them. So they're capable defensively. Maybe a little bit, maybe you could take advantage of them through the air, but they're going to be tough against the run. It's going to be a real challenge for Alabama to go up there and just line up and run on this defense. So, but you got to play clean. and that's first and foremost on the road, and that'll be key Saturday night.
Rodney, what was your prediction on TI-TV with WVUA, Gary Harris each Tuesday, 6:30, 10:30? It's also archived there on TiderInsider.com. What was your prediction?
My prediction was 27-13.
Okay.
And, Ryan, I don't know how you pick those scores. It's hard. But, they've had a bye week. I think their defense is really good. I mean, pretty good. I think offensively, they just really have trouble scoring points. I mean, they haven't been great scoring points. And I think Alabama, obviously, in the last 3 games is 128-20, they're doing a really good job of preventing people from scoring. So I think Oklahoma should have a tough time. Again, now if Alabama doesn't give them anything, Oklahoma should have a really tough time scoring. And I kind of want, like I said, I give a little respect to Oklahoma being at home, bye week, those types of things, and to their defense in terms of where I think Alabama is in terms of scoring points.
Yeah, what a job Kane Womack has done. I mean, I know we spend a lot of time talking about the offensive side of the football, but with those turnovers, the way they're playing, when you put your finger on why this team is playing so much better on the defensive side of the football, in your opinion, what is it?
Well, I think first of all, everybody looks at results, and I think that initially people were upset because the defense was, guys were running free and this and that and the other in the secondary. But Ryan, it takes a while. You've got a new staff. You've got a new scheme. You've got a new system. You've got new players. Everybody's trying to learn each other. You're trying to figure out who you need to put on the field in certain situations. You can go through practices. You can go through spring. You can go through fall camp. And then sometimes when you get into the games and the season gets going, things change. Things evolve. And I think that as time went on, they found out a little bit more about themselves defensively. They tweaked some things, I think, and they kind of found out who that needed to be on the field. And also at the same time, you've got guys like Xavier Brown, who was a high school player last year. You've got Damani Jackson, who was at USC last year. You got Keon Sabb, who was at Michigan last year. This is just in the secondary. And now then Sabb gets hurt. You got Bray Hubbard, who's really filled in extraordinarily well. But you got a lot of new parts, and then you've got Malachi Moore, who basically is at a new position. He's been a star, a nickelback here, now at the safety. So you had a lot of new parts and pieces trying to come together. And I think, a lot of times we just expect when they run out there and they've got the crimson jersey on that they're going to, kind of play like we've always become accustomed to them playing. But just some things had to kind of come together. And I think the staff and the players kind of, as they kind of got the better familiarity in what they needed to do, I think these things are starting we're starting to see the results.
Ronnie, I want to ask you about recruiting. We're less than 2 weeks away from National Signing Day, are we not?
December 4th, isn't it?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Is that less than 2 weeks?
That's the early signing period.
Yeah, that's, to my knowledge, I don't think it's ever been that early. With that early,
yeah, they moved it this year.
Yeah, wow. I mean, December the 4th. I mean, if you kind of put that in a little bit of a timeline, if Alabama continues the winning ways and Mississippi State loses to Missouri or Arkansas loses to the Missouri Tigers, whatever way you want to phrase that, they'll be in Atlanta, but it'll also be National Signing Day on that Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't. Again, maybe that's the only solution that there was. I don't know what all the considerations are, but you mentioned it, the timeline. You've got the early signing period, you got the SEC championship game, and then the portal opens, what is it, December the 9th, I think? So you got a lot of stuff going on right then and there. And I mean, it's pretty, that puts these coaching staffs all over the country in the SEC in a really tough situation, I think. But maybe there's nothing.
Tie back to the portal, Rodney. The other part of this is the portal closes before even the quarterfinal games. So
I don't. How do you do that? I mean, here's the thing I don't understand, Ryan. When you talk about that, I mean, so let's say you've got an offensive lineman or defensive lineman or whatever, and he's in your rotation. he's a guy that plays for you, say on the defensive line, and he's going to transfer out. He's already made his decision. He wants to leave and go somewhere else. So he's going to just leave before the playoffs get going, or do some of these guys stay and play it out and they're leaving? They're not even really part of the program anymore. I really don't understand that, because look, there's going to be players, whether it's Alabama or Georgia or Texas, they're going to lose players. They've got players right now, as you know, that are getting offers, that have opportunities to leave, or going to have opportunities to leave, that are strongly considering doing that. And if they make that decision, then what happens in the playoffs? I'm just unclear about that. Last year what they had was, if you were in the playoffs, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ryan, at the end of the playoffs, you had 30 days to enter into the portal, right? And you pick the school whenever. Am I correct?
You do, but the academic calendar gets you messed up.
Sure. But, what I think some schools were doing, and again, I hate to say this because I'm not 100% sure, but a lot of schools some of these guys were kind of enrolling, or they had them ready to enroll on online classes almost instantly. So they could be a part of the spring semester. And this wasn't just not speaking to Alabama. There was other schools, I heard of one player that ended up at Oregon that was basically 3 different schools at one time had him ready to start online classes. So that's just kind of the way it was. But anyway, I don't understand that. It's going to be real tough.
All right, looking at recruiting, give me a few guys, not saying that we're going to lock you in, but give me a few guys that maybe you're keeping an eye on that could be a part of this signing class. Just some names. Just throw it out, and not saying that these are finals, but in some consideration.
Well, they had Jace Clarizio visited, the running back from Michigan State, the last home game. He's committed to Michigan State. He's from East Lansing area. He's a guy maybe that, we'll see. I know Harry Dalton from over that's committed to USC. He's another running back. He might come in for the Auburn game. I'd keep an eye on him because I think they would like to sign another running back. Nashawn Montgomery is a wide receiver that's committed to Florida that was here. He may come back for another visit. We'll see. Now, again, you lost Caleb Cunningham, so you've only got one wide receiver committed right now, Latsir Brooks out of New Jersey. So we'll see what happens there. There's some other guys. There's a Mason Dunn from the DB from over in Mississippi. Tupelo, I think it is. Yeah, Tupelo. I think he's still looking. He's committed to Ole Miss, but supposedly he's looking pretty hard at Alabama. Ivan Taylor just flipped from Michigan, safety, was a really good player, originally committed to Notre Dame, flipped to Michigan. I thought he might flip to Alabama in the summer, but he flipped to Michigan, and now he's flipped to Alabama. So he's a great player. He's rated number 2 safety in the country by 247. Those are some guys, Ryan.
But you kind of just answered my question, but follow up, is there a need with these final few spots?
Is there a need?
Yeah.
Well, I think, receiver, if you could get the right guy, if you could get another receiver, or you may get one in the portal. I don't know. It just depends on who jumps in, right? I mean, you just never know. I know that obviously they would like to get another running back if they feel like one of those two are the right guy to go with A.K. Deere, who's committed over in Mississippi. We'll see with that. Now, with that said, I think one of the big things is you've got people that are coming after your guys right now. Whether it's Michael Carroll, the offensive lineman out of originally from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. That's where he's from, but he's at IMG, playing at IMG now. He's a 5-star offensive lineman. Got another 5-star offensive lineman some schools are coming after. Ty Haywood out of Denton, Texas. Now, Carroll just visited Colorado, by the way, and last weekend. And then Ty Haywood, as I just mentioned, out of Denton, Texas, there was some talk that he may visit Michigan. Now, we'll see. You want to hold that class together because they've got pretty much 3 5-star offensive linemen committed. It's pretty amazing. So they got a good group there. So you want to hang on to all your guys. And like I said, you know, Ryan, these schools are still this is when they really kind of turn it up a notch, and you start seeing some NIL deals that get offered.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome when you look at this. I say awesome. I mean, it's just the world that we live in. Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, TiderInsider.com. You can find the great forums there, the great content that they're able to provide. You also got some video as well. TITV, WVUA, each Tuesday, 6:30, 10:30. It's also archived on Tider Insider. Also connect with Rodney on Facebook, on the Twitter side of things, at Tider Insider. Just do a simple search for it. Rodney, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you again for being a part of our show.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. Man, we're going to have some fun today. Buckle up. Going to have a little bit of fun. Going to talk a little bit about a lot of different things. This, like I said, it's the naysayers that are now, they see what Alabama's doing, and I love their reaction. They're having so many issues. Like I said earlier when I started the show, I can understand Tennessee's complaint. You beat Alabama. What are you supposed to do? Because the buzz is already coming out of Knoxville. If Alabama gets in after we beat them head to head, they're going to have a meltdown. I mean, no wonder they already hate us. I mean, how much more can you hate? Can you do another level of hate? That's okay. That's okay. Enjoy the ride.
They loathe us. There's hate and then they loathe.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's another level. It is another level. And now the reporters up there have kind of joined in. I can't believe it. Because they see this ball coming down the hill, and there's nothing they can do.
Well, they can pray for Ole Miss to lose.
They could. And that would be an option. But Ole Miss, I don't see it. Do you?
At Florida? If Lagway's on point, I think they could get got. Especially
surely Lane Kiffin, which has had his eyes on, he's had his eyes on 2 jobs. Tuscaloosa, that one's out. And now Billy Napier, which now he's very familiar with Billy's system. They coach together here in Tuscaloosa, so they get one another. They know each other. So I don't. What's that line? No, Ole Miss -11.
What was the LSU Florida line?
Yeah, but that's LSU. I don't think
this is Ole Miss.
I don't think there's a. You also have some medical issues, and kind of scared me a little bit. I mean, when you said that, I was like, oh, man, maybe I need to follow up with Wayne and see if everything's okay. But I'm good to hear.
My electric wheelchair just went out.
Well, did you forget to...
I got a backup chair I'm sitting in right now that's another electric chair that I've had since high school.
Okay. Was it fixable, or is it...
I think it's fixable. We just don't know what's wrong with it. What it is, it reclines. The one that broke reclines, and it won't recline anymore.
Okay.
So I'm sitting in my non-reclining chair right now.
Well, you're going to have to find...
All it was, I had a chair malfunction.
Well, good. I'm glad that's minor compared, because you said it's an emergency, and I'm like, all right. So, Wayne, we're throwing darts today at the SEC Network. Would you like to throw a few?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to throw a few.
Go ahead. I'll give you one.
I'll tell you the solution they could have had.
Tell me. Talk to me.
They could have started that volleyball game at 5 o'clock and cut Feinbaum off.
Well, that would have been a good option. I didn't even... Is he still on the air? I didn't... Yeah, I didn't know.
Yes,
oh, he
as
is?
I know.
Okay. Well, I just never see him at games or anything. He didn't cover a lot of games, so I didn't know. Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
But I don't listen to him. I listen to you.
Well, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. Like I said, I didn't know he was still on, but that's good.
But
that would have been an option.
I fell asleep last night about 9 o'clock, so I taped the last hour of the Alabama game, and then I taped the CMA Awards and watched them this morning.
Well, it was another impressive victory by the University of Alabama, and it was good to get that, you kind of had that sour taste in your mouth.
100 points.
I'm sorry?
Mark Sears didn't score, and we scored 100.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this. I know a lot of the other shows, Barry this morning, Whippet Barry talked about it. I know Gary talked about it this morning as well. But Mark Sears came back to Tuscaloosa, and this is, we call this leadership, right? Scored 0 points in the game. He comes back to Tuscaloosa, gets in the gym, and shoots 600-something shots up until almost 3 a.m. in the morning, taking extra shots. He shot 80% from back here. So he shot 669 shots. He made 532 of those and working on his game. So Mark Sears coming back, gets back in the gym, and takes a ton of shots. That's pretty awesome right there.
That is pretty awesome. That's something that
I mean,
had.
It's not awesome that he scored 0, but you know what I mean. I mean, just saying, hey, you know what? This is how we rebound.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Peyton Manning and Luke Bryan were off the charts last night in a bad way. They made Laney Wilson look stupid.
Okay.
What I mean by that is Luke Bryan had T-shirts made up that said Luke, Peyton, and LAY.
See, I'm. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a joke, but it was a bad taste, I thought.
Oh, okay. I got you. I didn't watch the CMAs. I
taped them.
I'm an old school country guy. Hank Williams, all those guys.
Yeah, George Jones, all those guys. They gave a Career Achievement Award last night to George Strait.
Okay, well, good. I saw the group Alabama got a little something too. Did they not?
Yeah, Jelly Roll and Chris Stapleton were great last night.
And I do like Chris Stapleton, and I've Jelly Roll has grown on me a little bit, but Chris Stapleton lives down in the lower portion of Alabama, down on the beach.
Wow.
He's got a place down there. I'm not sure if he lives down there permanently. He probably lives in Nashville too. But
yeah, but he probably lives in Nashville. But is he from Alabama?
I don't think so. At least I don't know. I don't know, but I just love his voice. And
yeah, he's a good singer. I like him.
But I'm a little biased. I like Hank Williams Jr. Just being from.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, from being from Alabama, from the state. Big Alabama fan.
Yeah, I love Alabama. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
The Oak Ridge boys were on last night, and they lost one of their members.
They did. Yeah. Well, that's another good group. I mean, maybe we should do like a Throwback Thursday, a little old stuff. But, I did not realize this. Chris Stapleton, I just looked it up after you said this. I mean, here you got me drug into this, that side of things, Wayne. But he went to Vanderbilt. Chris Stapleton studied engineering.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I don't think he graduated from Vanderbilt, but he went to Vanderbilt and studied engineering. And
wow.
Yeah, got into music. How about that? That's a pretty cool story right there. I had no clue, but
look,
he's
I
originally
I couldn't sing a lick, but I could probably write songs.
Well, now what would you write about?
I've had an interesting life.
Yes, you have. I mean, we'd have to write something about Alabama football.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we instead of a tear in our beer, it'd be a tear in our opponent's eyes, because we've put a lot of tears in our opponent's eyes, Wayne. A lot of them.
Yes, there have been.
And they're crying because they see this Alabama team possibly making it to Atlanta. And if they make it to Atlanta, we're going to talk about some hypothetical odds coming up a little bit later with Brad Powers. But they're seeing this big ball coming down the hill, and they can't do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know Tennessee's upset, but that's
I would be. That's the only one that I can kind of understand. But I don't feel sorry for them. They're Tennessee.
I don't feel sorry for them either.
Yeah, but I mean,
they kill our program.
Yeah, they did. So, Philip Fulmer, there we go. So
there you go. But we'll see you, Ryan. Have a good day.
Thank you, Wayne. Hope you do good, and tell your mom I said a big hello. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Wayne in Northport. Jackson, I've never told you this story, but Wayne's mom was the Air Force I was an Air Force ROTC guy here at Alabama for all my years as an undergrad, and she was our receptionist. She was kind of like the mom of the cadets. She was there, and trust me, when we would get yelled at or we would not do things, and my problem was always making weight. I mean, I was a body fat guy, so I'd always be like 4 or 5 pounds overweight. And if you didn't make weight, you had to go make these early morning. So Miss Cecilia, which is Wayne's mom, she'd kind of be that little mother bear. She'd protect us a little bit, keep us from the officers of kind of getting on our butt a little bit. So you build connections with somebody that's got you back. So that's what I always think about when she calls in. All right, let's go to Pat. Pat, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
Right.
Yeah.
Wanted to say thank you. You got me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hello?
Loud and clear. You sound great.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to say thank you for turning me on to Patron's restaurant. Wow, what a meal! That it was absolutely fantastic. The rice. Hey, most Mexican restaurants you go to, the rice is gummy and it's just terrible. It's like it's had tomato sauce thrown in a rice cooker. This stuff was fabulous. I mean, it was just, and that's one I can't say enough thank you about it, because I had never tried it, and I wouldn't have tried it had it not been for the station and you giving me that gift card.
What did you order? What did you order?
I had the rice and shrimp together, and the shrimp were cooked to perfection, because I'm a professional shrimp person, and that they were not overcooked. They weren't burnt. I went to another restaurant 3 or 4 days ago, and the tails were black.
Yeah, you can't. If you overcook shrimp, they turn it to like little gummies or whatever.
They're tough and rubbery. It's just awful.
Right.
And, but this absolutely fabulous job. I couldn't have done better myself.
I want to recommend something. If you go back to El Gran Patron, go with a Coach Dana bowl. It's got shrimp in there. It's got steak, grilled chicken, shrimp, spinach, mushrooms, red and green bell peppers, onions with cheese dip. That's named after our former gymnast and All-American gymnast and also national champ, but also a coach here, Coach Dana. And that's a good little bowl there. It's got shrimp. So if you love shrimp and Mexican food, but thank you for bragging on our sponsors, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That it was just I will be going back because I hadn't had anything that good in a south of the border restaurant here in Tuscaloosa since I've been young. And I've tried most of them, but it was really they did a fantastic job, and I just wanted to let you people know that it was definitely worth the trip over to Northport.
You sound sick. Are you sick?
Yeah, I got laryngitis.
You need some ivermectin? What do you need? Some ivermectin?
Yeah. I just started my antibiotics on it, and I'm doing a lot better than I was the day before yesterday. I couldn't talk at all, but anyway, hey, it's all good now, and on the road to recovery. But hey, this thing, do you think that we're going to be able to go out there and put a whipping on Oklahoma?
I do. I do. Yeah, I do. I think this team, oh, man, always kind of makes me nervous when I say this. I think this team has turned the corner. I mean, don't you?
Yeah. But I'm, like I said, I'm getting excited about this game. I got excited back about basketball a number of years back, and we had a coach that went to North Carolina, and he hurt my feelings that I'd even bought tickets up in the skybox. And I hope that I'm not buying in too early on this football coach, but I'm beginning to believe, Ryan. I'm beginning to believe seriously. But are you on board
with Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah,
Pat, I've been on the board. Kind of using some fun there, but so much that my friends send me memes that I've got a meme with me toting water for Kalen DeBoer. I've got me some memes. Like Cedric would run around behind Coach Saban with that cup of water. That's the way they've got me. They got me as a sunshine pumper. No, I think there is something different about this coaching staff. Take the example of Bray Hubbard. Bray Hubbard's on the field because of great coaching that has prepared him for this moment. True or false?
Very true. Bray Hubbard was on the field because Bray Hubbard was a fantastic
Absolutely.
athlete.
I don't disagree with that.
He was Mr. Football his junior and senior year in Mississippi, and we're talking about.
But what's allowed him to step into a role?
Private and public schools.
But what's allowed him to step into a role and to be able to perform at this level?
A fantastic coach.
There you go.
Since the springtime, he's had very good coaching. He's been able to get enough reps to be prepared for the big stage, and to go down the way he played at LSU down there. I watched that in the rain down there. It might have been part of the reason I got laryngitis, but it was fabulous what that young man did. Can't say enough of good things about Bray Hubbard.
Yeah, he is simply, when you look at what he's been able to do as an amazing football player, and kind of gets you excited when you look at the future of those defensive backs. I mean, I know that you're going to lose Malachi as far as eligibility, but then you start looking at Keon Sabb will be back. You got Bray Hubbard. Pretty strong looking secondary, man. You've had some growing pains, but it's not just the last part of this year. But you start looking at the depth that secondary. Anything could change in the portal side of things. But hey, Pat, I appreciate you. And
yes, sir.
If you get a box of Kleenexes, send them to Knoxville.
Yeah.
They're going to need them.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to Atlanta, and we're going to have to be ready to. I feel sorry for them Texas people, kind of. Hey, that drunk that we got down there in Louisiana that pulls for that bunch out there. He's just digger. He reminds me of a digger on Dallas. He was a whiner too. The JR just beat him down every way he could go about beating him down, and I guess it looks like we're going to do that to Texas too.
I got
Don't you think?
Well, I want Texas. That's who. I mean, if you ask me who I want Texas. I want Texas. I want Texas.
Yeah.
That's who I want. Yeah. I want to play them over in the ATL, the SEC title game. Thanks, Pat. I hope you have a great rest of your day, man.
Yeah. Have a blessed one, Ryan Fowler.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, who do you want? I mean, yeah, I'd like to line them up. You know who else I'd love to have? Mathematically, it seems highly unlikely, but I'd love to get a revenge with Tennessee. It's not going to happen. But mathematically, it would. I mean, yeah, I guess mathematically. We were talking about the revenge factor of possibly trying to get a little Tennessee volunteer. I'd love to have the Tennessee Volunteers, but hey, it's like I said, highly unlikely. Tennessee, go take care of your business and allow the chips to fall where they may. Texas, go take care of business. That's who I really want. I want Texas. I want to meet them because we didn't do something last year, and we have to establish ourselves as the king of college football. I mean, the king of the league. We're already, listen, we got 30 SEC titles, and if you look at Georgia and Tennessee, they've had 13. So they're the second place. I believe they're tied at 13. Georgia had a chance to go up 14 and go up on Tennessee last year, but they ran into that buzzsaw called the University of Alabama. But Texas, 9-1, 5-1. Who would you guys like to see? I mean, is it Jackson? Before I go back to phone calls, we'll go to Michael in Atlanta first up. Who would you like to see? I mean, like if I gave you a dream case scenario, I mean, I got my playoffs like already out. So, I mean, obviously we got to take care of this week. Oklahoma. I mean, checking them off the box, but
I would probably lean Texas or Ole Miss.
Oh, you want Ole Miss, huh?
Ole Miss is not a bad matchup for us. As much as they like to throw the ball, I think they can get got on the ground.
I'd like to take advantage of Pete Golding's defensive side of things. Let's go to Michael in Atlanta. Michael, good afternoon. You're in the game.
By the way, as a Georgia fan, get your facts straight, please, Ron. We have 14 SEC titles. We are clearly the second best program in the history of the SEC.
Whoa. Hold on. Georgia has 14?
That is, well, I believe it's, yes. I think we are number 2 now in the SEC. historically as the second most successful.
Okay, all right.
Nowhere near,
you know
nowhere,
what?
nowhere
I stand corrected. I stand corrected. I just looked it up. Yes, you do. You do have 14.
We are the second most successful program in the history of the SEC.
Well, good. I'd rather you guys have it than Tennessee. I'd rather you guys have it than Tennessee. So no, I mean, hey, listen, I'm one of those media guys. I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong, but yeah.
Well, listen, and as a Georgia fan, but if I was an Alabama fan, I would definitely want Tennessee. It's not going to happen, but I think Texas is a game that's very winnable for you guys. It's hard to figure Texas. Defensively, they are the real deal, but offensively, they're in and out. So you don't know, But I do think if Alabama's defense continues to improve, they could give Texas's offense, I think, some problems, on a neutral field. So, yeah, that's the matchup. If I was a Bama fan, I would want to see.
But as a Georgia fan, you probably want Alabama, do you not?
No, I mean,
Well, never mind. You really haven't had a lot of luck with Alabama, so I don't know if you want Alabama.
I request that you show some decorum, Ryan. Go for please. Actually, to be honest with you, I don't want to go to the game because I think the risk of losing it is far greater than the reward for winning it. Now, they say the loser's not going to be out. I'm not buying that for 1 second, but that's down the road. I do want to express some concern as a Georgia fan. I think we're really in big trouble based on the seedings, okay? I think we came in 10th this week, I believe. So if you look ahead, and, we're not going to stay at 10. I think we are going to win the next 2 games fairly comfortably. But I think we're looking at coming in 8th or 9th, probably, which means we're looking at a first-round road game, okay? And even if you win that game, then you're going to be playing against the number 1. The 9th, the team that comes in number 9 is going to have a really, really difficult road, to fulfill.
All right, but right now, you guys would be matched up against Penn State. Let me explain something, Michael, to you. You guys would stomp an absolute mud hole in Penn State.
I don't think
so. No, you would.
No,
you would.
15 below. 15
I believe in the SEC. As much as I don't really care for some of our SEC brethren, no. You guys, you would beat Penn State by double digits.
In 15-degree weather.
Yeah. Doesn't scare me.
Okay.
All that stuff. I heard DeBoer talking about it last night on his show. That cold weather stuff, that's all about the fans. Yeah, I mean, your ball might be a little harder to grip if it's nasty or snowy or all that. No. Listen, I'd love Alabama to be matched up with Penn State. These northern teams.
So you would rather play Penn State than Georgia as a Bama fan, right?
I think it's hard to beat a team twice.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. But for getting the rematch aspect, you think your chances of beating Penn State far outweigh beating Georgia, right?
Yes. I mean, because Georgia, I think, obviously learns from their mistakes. But Alabama is Georgia's kryptonite. They are literally Superman, except Alabama. I mean, look at Alabama how many times. And it's not just been a Kirby Smart problem. You can even go back to Mark Richt in 2012. Georgia would have won the national title that year. Georgia would have won the national title in 2012.
It does go back to Rick, no doubt. It does. It goes back, ever since Saban came to Bama, it goes back to Rick. Yeah, no doubt about it. Alabama has probably cost Georgia in the last 10, 12 years probably 3 national championships.
Yeah.
When you think about it. And
I wonder about LSU, because LSU's been blocked a few times too, but I would imagine Georgia's in the lead with national titles. But you guys
LSU, I think LSU's only been blocked. Of course, we don't play you guys that often, but I think LSU was only blocked 11, I believe. I think that's the only year they legitimately would have won it. But, yeah, look, I don't hold anything against Georgia. They just lost some very hard-fought, close games against a hell of a team. I mean, let's be honest here. You can't badmouth Georgia for those situations. They just came up
being
short.
the first year in the SEC, it's good to have you guys in the league. I know y'all been taking care of the SEC East for all those years and kind of had an easier path to get there. Now you got the number one. It's the hardest strength of schedule in the country. And that's something that's not just a consensus, it's a unanimous. If you look at the strength of schedule, it's number one. It's number one by all the major publications.
Okay, I'll leave it with this question.
All right.
If you had a chance, forget Atlanta. The Natty is in Atlanta this year. So let's go to the middle of January. And let's say you guys are fortunate enough to get there. If you had a shot, or you had an opportunity to play one of two teams for the whole ball of wax, and it came down to Ole Miss or Georgia, which of those teams would you prefer to play over the other?
If you offered me those two, I'll take Ole Miss.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah, I don't know, Ryan. Greg McElroy on a podcast with Colin Cowherd recently, he thinks Ole Miss could be the best team in the country, and they could be. They could be. Well, guys, listen, you have a great show.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Ole Miss the best team in the country?
Forget the history now.
I mean, as much as we talked about schedule a couple of minutes ago with Georgia, I mean, stop me when you hear a good team. You ready? Furman, Middle Tennessee State, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky. They lost to, by the way. South Carolina, they won. It was an impressive win. They lost to LSU. Lost to LSU.
Not a good team.
No.
A bad team.
They did beat Oklahoma. They beat Arkansas by a number, and then they had momentum and took care of you guys. But to me, I mean, when you look at Ole Miss, where is their strength of schedule? It can't be up there very much. I mean,
no, but I do think they have the right ingredients with the quarterback, the play calling, the playmaker. I think they have the best playmakers as a group in the whole SEC. And that defensive line is just wicked. I mean, I think they may have the best defensive line in all the SEC as well. So I don't know. You may be right. You would probably prefer Ole Miss over Georgia. I don't buy the repeat game as much, though. Georgia is getting healthier, though. That's the thing. They are starting to get a lot of their big time players back, and it showed up Saturday night in the offensive line. They're going to get another big time lineman back for the Tech game. And who knows, we may see a Georgia-Alabama game in Atlanta, not in December, but in the middle of January. It would be something. Guys, listen, I love your show.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to your team.
Thank you, Michael. Great phone call. 205-342-9904. Even though you're a Georgia guy, it's a pretty nice phone call right there. He said, hey, we always welcome those. All right. 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. Bruce Marshall coming up in a couple of minutes. T-Town Tide 100. To know it's being done right. That's the time to call Rumsey Environmental. Let's go to Jim in Tuscaloosa. Jim, good afternoon. You're in the game. I hope all is well.
It is, Ryan. Thank you. You helped me a lot last night, and you're a great guy. And I want to wish you and all yours a happy Thanksgiving holidays and every happy returns for whatever in Christmas and everything.
Well, good. Well, thank you. It was. Listen, that YouTube TV is good. It's cheap, but it's hard to navigate. So.
Oh man, I'm telling you. But you're right. It's just ridiculous. You have to have two remotes. You have to have one to turn the TV on and turn the sound up and down, and the other one you change the channel and all that. It's a crazy way of doing it, but it is cheap. You're right. It's only $72 I think $72 a month.
Well, and with your president's economy right now up in Washington,
right.
I mean, that is your president, right?
How about the happy return? Happy days are here again, Ryan, with President Ronald Reagan. He was a great one. Ronald and Donald. That ought to be a team. The Ronald and Donald team. Right now we got Donald.
Yeah, and the good thing is we'll be able to go away from rice and beans. Because I've had enough rice and beans in the last 4 years. I've never.
You don't look like you ever ate a rice and bean dish You're a heavyweight, baby. You're a heavyweight.
No. I've lost weight. I mean, Joe Biden has.
Oh, you have? Okay, good, great.
Oh,
great.
yeah. I'm back down to my playing weight now.
You're gonna play defensive back for the Kalen Boers.
Well,
Kalen DeBoers.
I'm gonna walk on. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see if I got any eligibility.
I heard you and Kalen are pretty good friends, Ryan.
Well, he's a heck of a guy. You know, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. So we'll leave it at that.
Well, he seems to be a pretty good coach as of now.
But,
for a while, I wondered.
But let me say this, though. His coaching ability would, he'd have to be a better coach if he's going to get me into shape, ready to play. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm going to test every part of his ability.
I understand, Ron. Believe me, I understand. But let me ask you something. Where's my buddy, my old buddy and his wife, Bama Nick? I hadn't talked to Bama Nick in a while.
Bama Nick's still hanging around here. He is. He calls. No, normally Bama Nick's a 5 o'clock. He's prime time. So you only put Bama Nick.
Wait a minute. That wouldn't be a happy hour, would it be, Ron?
It would be very happy hour. And see, it is. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know you don't want to speak too much because you might out him somewhat.
Well, and I was actually text messaging right there. We're actually going to be having a very special guest in the 5 o'clock hour. So Bama Nick better.
Well, who is that? I can't wait to hear. But who is that?
Well, we're going to talk with one of the most famous linebackers in college football who played for Oklahoma.
Let me think.
Brian Bosworth.
Would that be Brian Bosworth?
It would be. It would be. We're going to talk to him today at 5:30. I just got a confirmation. Just about 15. See, you're good luck. See, you come in and Brian Bosworth sends me a message and, hey, how about 5:30?
Well, that sounds good to me, right?
You brought good luck to us. See, that's.
Well, I did a little. You and I did a little work together a few years back.
Well, I took the gym of Tuscaloosa School of Broadcasting. I went to.
Well, did I do? Did it? I think I did all right. What do you think?
Well, I'm still making a living out of this thing, so that's a start.
Well, I tell you, Ryan, you're doing a lot better than the guy in North Carolina. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was still on the air. I didn't even know he was still on the air. But
he's about done. He's about done, Ryan. He is almost toast. I'm telling you, the guy is I don't want to get too negative, but he's just a thug. I mean, I'm sorry, the guy he's an unfit, uncivilized old guy. That's what he is. He's become worse in the last later years as he's hitting the 70 mark.
Well, I kind of wonder if he kept making all these things about Nick Saban needs to retire. Looks like he's got to be getting close to it.
I know he put his foot in his mouth, and it looks like he's doing it, and he got away. You know what? He got away just in time because he knew, and I know. He knew NIL was killing everybody, and he wasn't going to have a player come and say, I want this and I want that, because he's the coach. And he said, I want this and I want that, and what I want is you keep your mouth shut and make what you need to make, but you're not going to rob us for money. And I love Coach Saban's attitude about that.
Well, I was talking about Paul retiring. Isn't it about time to?
I know you were talking about Paul retiring, but yeah. I was talking about why Saban retired. Though he retired only because of NIL. I know that. That I know.
I got you. So did yeah, never mind. I was gonna ask you a question, but what do you think about this Alabama football team?
Go ahead and ask it. I don't have to answer it. Go ahead and ask it. I don't have to answer it.
What do you think about this football team? You think they're hitting their stride?
Well, I'll admit they are right now. It looks like they're really right now. It looks like it.
But
I was wondering about it.
But ball. What has been the secret?
Pretty good, Ron. But I can't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's been the secret for turning it around?
I don't know. I mean, he's got so many good players, Ron. Let's face it. He got. It's not. What is that? X's and O's. It's Jimmy's and Joe's. Well, he's got the Jimmys and Joes and the Milrose. I didn't think about that, Ronnie.
Jimmy and Joe's and the Milrose. That'll put you at the top.
That's what he's got.
Yeah.
Mostly Milrose.
Yeah. Wow. What a football player. Were you that? Were you that good?
Well, I don't want to brag, Ryan, but I wasn't bad. I'll just put it that way. Before my injury, I wasn't bad. I was kind of like Ryan. I kind of caught balls kind of like close to what. I mean, it may be equally as good sometimes as Ryan Williams. I have to be honest when you ask me a question. I have to straight shoot with you. I was a pretty good quarterback and receiver Well, I mostly played quarterback till I got injured.
Okay.
But anyway, Ryan, they got some players, Ryan. You know that. In fact, I just thought Ryan and Ron. Have you talked to? You ever interviewed Ryan Williams?
Yeah, and his dad's name is Ryan too. So it's Ryan, and we almost had a coordinator here named Ryan Grubb, but he decided to go back to Seattle, so it would have been like Ryan times 4. So yeah,
right.
Well, Jim, it's good to hear from you, man. It's good to hear your voice.
Good to talk to you, Ryan, and everything. Hope everything's well. And are any of the listeners? I don't know. I hadn't heard the show in a while, but I'll try to listen a little bit this afternoon and see what's going on.
Well, good. Well, thank you. It's good to have you, Jim. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. Talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you. Jim, Tuscaloosa. Man, he lit up the phone calls. I know that. Jim's, I'll tell you a real quick story, Jackson. I'll never forget it. I used to produce when I first got into Sports Talk Radio back in 2000. I met Jim. He would call into a Sports Talk Radio show that I would host. And he'd call in and he'd talk and he'd tell me, you got to listen to the listeners, man. You got to listen to the listeners. You got to talk to them. Don't talk to your co-host. Talk to your listeners. And Jim was always a guy that used to call in local Sports Talk Radio, and he'd fire up the crowd. Still has that energy. He's been a long-time caller of Sports Talk Radio, and not just for those who know him on the national level. You know him on the national level, but we knew him on the local level too. That's when I first heard his voice, and back in 2000 when I was working at WTBC. You ever heard of that station? It's where we are now. It come full circle. Believe it or not, we were on 1230, a little small AM station. Now we have the FM that's attached. And I left that station. I got replaced by Christmas music, believe it or not. I've never told you this story, Jackson. We had a lady that took over as a general manager. She ran the station slapping the ground. She replaced us from Christmas music. They took Rush Limbaugh and myself and a few others off. We got canned. They replaced us with Christmas music. I came to another station, which was 99.1 at the time, continued what we were doing at WTBC, was recruited over here, ended up making it 99.1. We ended up buying 1230. So now they're part of our building there. All right, so we'll continue. Always good to hear from those callers. Josh in Georgia, hang on just a couple of minutes. Bruce Marshall, Las Vegas, longest running handicapper out in Las Vegas. We'll talk with him coming up in a couple of minutes. I want to talk about some hypothetical odds. I talked about Alabama, Texas. It'd be good to play in Alabama, Texas. Be good to play in Alabama, Georgia. Mathematically, some of these things are still on the table. We're going to ask Bruce Marshall to talk about this Alabama and Oklahoma game. This line seems very, very large out there. 2 weeks to prepare. A professional handicapper, but he's also one of the best historians I know of the world of college football. Bruce Marshall, I hope all is well. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, 1 second here. Oh, sorry, Coach. I won't do that again. I'm sorry. Brian Kelly just yelled at me.
Oh, he did. What did he say? What was
he was just mad. He just thought I wasn't saying enough good things about LSU. So yeah, he just yelled again. So what? I'm not alone. He yells at a lot of people these days.
Oh, it took me a second, but I got there. I was late to the game, but I understand what you're talking about. Hey, Bruce, you're a historian. Let's go to Brian Bosworth. He's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour to talk about this Alabama and Oklahoma game. And when you hear the name the Boz, what comes to your mind first?
Oh yeah, I mean, first of all, these Dr. Pepper commercials are pretty cool.
They're awesome.
I didn't realize that was him at the start, and then I realized, oh my God, that's the Boz. But he started the later part of Barry Switzer's regime. And Switzer had a lot of great players there, a lot of colorful players. But not only was the Boz probably the most colorful guy at Oklahoma, but I think he was sort of the landmark player of the last stage of Coach Switzer at Oklahoma. We know Coach Switzer went on to the Cowboys later in the 90s with Jerry, and got him a Super Bowl there, or 2 Super Bowls. But in the 80s, that later stage when the Boz was there, I mean, he was sort of the star attraction, and that was a little rare. I mean, Switzer had some star defensive players, the Selmans and others, but I think Bosworth was his legitimate defensive star that he had in that run that went, about 17 years or so for Coach Switzer there. Then, of course, with the Seahawks, And I wouldn't ask him about the time Bo Jackson ran him over. But
no, we won't discuss that. But
but he was good. I mean, he was a character. I mean, he was sort of like Deion sort of, and he came just a little bit before Twitter and all that, because if that stuff had been around in the 80s, we know the Boz would have been a social media star as well.
He would have been. I mean, think about NIL back then. I mean, he could have made a fortune. But Bruce, do you know if there's another 2-time Butkus Award winner?
I can't think so.
Because he won the first two. He won the first two, right? I mean, he was the winner of the first two. I mean, it can't be.
No, I don't think there can be. I think Ken Norton won it after him, Ken Norton Jr. But I don't think there is another two, and that's on the magnitude of Archie Manning winning 2 Heismans, really. And it hasn't happened before, and I don't think it's going to happen again.
Yeah, I mean, but to unanimous All-American. So we like to do this a little bit, especially when we can, feature somebody that we're not as common with as far as Oklahoma, but one of the blue bloods. And let me ask you, when you look at that program, not talking about this Alabama game, but what will it take for Oklahoma, in your opinion, to get back on track?
I don't think they're going to do it with Brent Venables.
Really?
Okay. No, I don't think they will, and that's still very much out. I think he sort of caught lightning in the bottle last year. This is 2 times in 3 years where Oklahoma has been subpar. The competition is going to be upgraded here. I know I was reading stuff. Oklahoma people think, okay, we'll be fine moving into the SEC. I don't think so. I mean, unless they make some sort of a change. I am not sure Venables is going to be the guy. But it's always been that way, Ryan. If you don't have, the coach to make it work. Oklahoma didn't work with John Blake. Oklahoma didn't work that year with Howard Schnellenberger. Didn't work that well with Gary Gibbs. Didn't work that well before Chuck Fairbank. Gomer Jones didn't win there. You were any of these places, even Alabama. I mean, you're not going to win unless you have a top-notch coach. And I am hardly convinced, although Venables, great defensive coordinator, and he was we talked to him in Dallas, and back when I saw you there at the SEC Media Days. He's a good, seems like a good guy, but he's a coordinator. I don't think he's a head coach. They need something special there, because even at Oklahoma, with all that history, they still ain't never won there unless they've had a big-time coach. I'm just not sure Venables is it.
And I think about when you look at Brent Venables, look at how much Clemson misses him.
Yes. Well, they should go back. I mean, he is top-notch defensive coordinator. That is for sure. Don't be surprised. I think he's probably got another year there, but we'll see. I mean, Oklahoma could pull an Auburn here. You never know. I mean, they may Lane Kiffin's a guy they might make a run for. Somebody's going to make a run for John Summerall pretty quick down at Tulane. But unless Venables, I'm not 100% sure he's going to last into next year. If he misses out in the bowl, I don't know. But even then, he's going to come up big next year to survive into 26. So the jury is still very much out for me on Brent Venables as a head coach. Defensive coordinator, great. Head coach, not sure.
All right. So this line out in Las Vegas is quite large. We're talking to Bruce Marshall, a great handicapper that we love to be able to pick his brain. And we'll look at this Alabama-Oklahoma line sitting here at big-time double digits. You think this is a fair line?
It's a fair line. I'm not sure there's much advantage there. Just a general, and I think we talked about this in a couple other games last week, Ryan, this time of year, and we saw it last week with Texas. We saw it last week with Oregon. When you are a high-ranked team and it is mid-late November and you're out laying double digits on the road or close to double digits in the case like of Ole Miss or SMU this week, pure double digits like Alabama against a competent foe, and Oklahoma is at least that. And, I saw them a few weeks ago against Ole Miss. They played a really good first half against the Rebels before they kind of slowed down in the second half. But this is a treacherous, a very slippery slope for the favorites to come in there and sort of dominate at the end of the season. I think Coach DeBoer would say, you win this game by 3 points, Coach DeBoer. If you take it now, he'd say yes, and let's move on to the Iron Bowl. It's just getting out of there alive. And as a matter of course, I'm really reluctant to lay points in that spot with teams like Alabama. And there's others this week. Like I mentioned, there's Ole Miss, SMU, Penn State's got a game up in Minnesota. They're laying double digits. I think all those could be tough. However, I do think Alabama's got it within itself because there's that extra thing. And listen, Penn State, Ole Miss, and SMU are the same thing. I mean, the 12 is out there, and you want to make sure you're in the 12. And a slip up at this stage would be really devastating to any of those teams. So I think that keeps Alabama enough on edge. And I have not been enough impressed with Oklahoma this year to think if Bama is focused enough here and they get enough big plays from Milroe that they can't get over that number. So I'd probably this is one I might lean a little bit to Alabama. I'm not going to do it with SMU this week, and I'm not going to do it with Ole Miss either. But this one, I think I actually might lean a little bit to the Tide, reluctantly so, just because of the dynamics involved.
All right, let's go to the Missouri-Mississippi State. You say, Ryan, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's only a local interest. We need the Missouri Tigers to be able to take down either Mississippi State or Arkansas. It would clear the pathway to go to Atlanta if Alabama wins out. Let's go to the Missouri-Mississippi State game. 7.5. Do you see any way possible that Mississippi State could beat the Missouri Tigers?
Yes, I do, because Mississippi State, for the most part, except the Arkansas game, when Arkansas got everything going, the second half of the season, they haven't been all that bad. And, Van Buren at quarterback has put up some decent numbers. Not as great as the last game at Tennessee, but they still stayed within that spread. And, the Texas game, the Georgia game, the A&M game, they played pretty darn well. And I think they've had a bye week coming in here. So the thought, and I do some shows in Mississippi, and we've talked, I do the Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and down with Michael and Richard Cross down in Mississippi. And all of them think the Bulldogs are going to get somebody here before the season is done. Is it going to be in the Egg Bowl? I don't know, which leaves this game left. I think it's a very treacherous game for Mizzou. Their balloon got deflated last week, especially the way they lost that game at South Carolina. What a tough way to come back. They are out of the 12 now, and now they're looking at, the Liberty Bowl or something like that. It is a real come down for Mizzou. I think it's a very dangerous game. I'm not sure Mississippi State can win, but I'm going to take them plus 7.5.
Ooh, look at Bruce Marshall. Bruce Marshall, Indiana, Ohio State. Ohio State minus the 12 in Columbus, Ohio.
I guess we'll find out this week about Indiana. My gut feel is that this team is probably for real. Just the way they've been winning these games, and I've watched now. The Michigan game is the only game they haven't covered. Well, since that opener against Florida International, which was a really big spread. But they had, and they haven't lost it, as we know, and they had those 8 straight covers, and they really didn't take a deep breath all the way. And along the way, they beat, the schedule has worked favorably for them. But even I go back to September, the game against UCLA, which I didn't think much of at the time. I just thought, UCLA is really bad. UCLA isn't as bad as I thought. They played Penn State and LSU pretty competitively, and they won some games since. Indiana just really manhandled UCLA back in September, no question about it. And we've talked about Curtis Rourke before, what a good portal ad that was for Kurt Cignetti, who, by the way, congratulations to him. He just got a big contract extension. He is set for life now. Good for Indiana. They want to keep him there. That is a good situation if he can keep this thing going, but they can run with Ellison. Rourke is a real quarterback. The defense looks stout. They only allow, 2.5 yards per carry. And I still don't think this is a good great. I'm not sure it's a great Ohio State. Will Howard's good, and he does move around a little bit, but he ain't quite Stroud or Fields. And those offenses of a few years ago at Ohio State are a little bit more dynamic than this one. I think Indiana's worth a look. I really do.
Ole Miss, Florida. We've been kind of talking about this game because you said somebody's going to trip up. Somebody out here is going to trip up this last couple of weeks. Ole Miss, there's certainly a pathway to the college football playoffs. Florida, after coming off the win against LSU, any way they can take down Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels?
Well, I think Ole Miss better be very careful here because Florida has played awfully well since mid-September, that Texas A&M game. The only game they have not covered versus the spread since was the game a couple weeks ago at Austin, and that's the game when Billy Napier had the third-string quarterback in there, Warner. He had 2 quarterbacks this year. He didn't have three who can win. And he got one of them back, Lagway, this week, where Mertz is done for the year. But Lagway was sort of the guy we thought could maybe save Billy's job, and is partially true because it looks like Napier is coming back next year, at least if he believes Scott Strickland. And he gives them something there, and they did. That was a good win over LSU last week. I mean, they took Georgia. They were tied with them. That was at the third stringer in the game. In the fourth quarter, they darn near beat Tennessee, took them to overtime. What Lagway gives them is some mobility, some real mobility, which I sort of think you need to diffuse that defensive pressure that Ole Miss brings. Carson Beck could not handle that 2 weeks ago, and he really got flustered. But Lagway's a little bit different, and I think it gives Billy a chance. Also, Ole Miss, they had a week off after that win over Georgia, which is their biggest win in a long, long time. But we have seen some teams have trouble coming back from those big wins. Look at A&M a couple weeks ago after rousing win over LSU. They went to South Carolina and got smoked. I'm not sure Ole Miss comes out and dominates. I think this could be a very tough game. I'm definitely taking the points at the Gators here.
Is there another upset that you're looking at?
Yeah, I would watch out for SMU and Virginia this week. SMU ended up having a lot, and the collar's getting a little tight around some of these teams that are right on the verge there. In SMU's case, it's looking good for the ACC title game, and that's going to be its ticket into the 12. But this week could be tough with Virginia, and SMU could lose this game and still miss out on the ACC title game. So it's all on the table for them. But they struggled some with Boston College last week, and this is another instance of laying about 9.5, 10 here. Virginia's been covering numbers. Now, they've come in the back door a couple times with the backup quarterback, Tony Muskett, including that game against Notre Dame last week. But Tony Elliott's 11-2, his last 13 as a dog. They are rather functional, and they've been covering a lot of numbers. They had that one game against North Carolina. They really laid the egg. But they bounced back in the next game at Pitt and won. So I like a team after it gets smoked like that to come back and win. I think SMU is real upset alert this week. I think Virginia is a very live dog, plus about 10 in Charlottesville. Watch that one.
You give Army any chance to beat Notre Dame?
Not really.
Okay.
I'd like to see it, but we saw what Notre Dame did to Navy. A little bit different. Navy's got some wing T they're running. It's not pure option the way Army. And Army's back to traditional option this year after running more pistol last year. A great story, and I think Monken is in the Coach of the Year. I think it's Signetti 1, Monken 2, maybe Dion 3 right now. But no, Notre Dame is just too rough and physical up front if they get Army behind. I mean, Army, this is a great story, but what's Army's best win? Is it North Texas? I mean, Notre Dame is really rugged, and Marcus Freeman has a great spread mark, even though Virginia backdoored them last week. A few people won that with Notre Dame late because that number did dip to 20.5 right before kickoff. But 16-5-1 against the spread until last week since a year ago for Freeman. And that defense is rugged. It's a top 10 defense, and Riley Leonard can do enough with this offense. I probably Notre Dame. One note, 1946, this was the battle between 1 and 2, also at Yankee Stadium, the old one. 0-0 tie. So there's a lot of history here, but I'm thinking Army is going to be just overwhelmed this week.
Texas A&M Auburn, Texas A&M minus the 2.5. I promise you this will be the last question.
No, that's fine. As many as you want. I think when I first looked at this, I thought, man, that doesn't look like a big number. Should be bigger. Then you look at it and say, I don't know. Auburn has generally been pretty competitive in its losses this year. And, A&M, if you look at it, the body of work, the big one was the win they had, over LSU. I'm not sure that's as big a win as they thought. Marcel Reed is now in at quarterback for A&M, and this is a full switch made by Elko. It's not back and forth with Weigman. I know he's going with Reed, and I think it gives him a little better shot. The bottom line for me is too many times this year, and Hugh Freeze is usually good for one of these upsets per year, and he's got this week and then next week in the Iron Bowl. I'm just not sure he's going to get it because this team has fallen too consistently short. Peyton Thorne has been likely to make mistakes. There was a time this season he was even benched by Freeze. And A&M has generally gotten over the hump this year. I don't think it's going to be easy for A&M, but they are very much on the bubble here right now with the 12. Though there is a path for them to the SEC title game, win these next two, and they're in Atlanta, baby. So I'm going to give A&M a shot. I'm going to take Elko. I still like Elko a lot, and Marcel Reed does give him a little bit of an extra budge, and he's, for the most part this year, he has not played like a freshman. So I kind of like A&M a little bit there.
Bruce Marshall, you are affiliated with a lot of different websites, including VegasInsider.com, Winners and Whiners. Tell me more how we can connect with you and find more information.
Thanks, Ryan. Check me out. Yeah, VegasInsider.com. We are leading both the college football and the NFL this year. Big year in both. I'm skipping that game tonight. There's going to be some weather in Cleveland, but we'll have a bunch this weekend, both pros and college. So check me out, VegasInsider.com. Also, similar stuff up there at sportsline.com, CBS Sportsline. And like you mentioned, Winners and Whiners, also picksandparlays.com with a little bit of a different twist on those two.
And there we go. Bruce Marshall, I appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Okay, Ryan.
Thank you. Bruce Marshall helping us out. Hey, remind you tomorrow, we've got a big Seize the Deal opportunity. A $25 gift card to Texas Roadhouse for $12.50. We all want to go out to eat, right? We love to go out to eat. It's for me, social, but it's fun, right? I mean, it's probably one of my, it's I don't know if I'm going to say a hobby, but it's just something I enjoy doing. I know you do as well. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Tide109.com. We're doing Texas Roadhouse. We're going to be doing this every week. We'll have a different restaurant or a different venue each and every week. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., Seize the Deal, half-price coupons for Texas Roadhouse, McFarland Boulevard. So your chance there, $12.50. Go to Tide109.com. Tide109.com. Seize the Deal. And there are only a handful of these, right? So you're going to have to get in quick. So be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, $12. All right, we welcome you right back into the game here in Tuscaloosa. Let's go to Brad Powers. It is BradPowersSports.com. Brad Powers 7. Brad, I hope you're having an amazing day. Welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, thanks for having me as always.
All right, Brad, we're going to Oklahoma. We go there as a big-time favorite. Break this game down for us.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're right, big-time favorite, but much deserved considering, how bad Oklahoma has been. I mean, I've downgraded Oklahoma's power rating double digits since the start of the season. It's not like I thought they were a national title contender to start the season anyways. I mean, there's a reason why their win total was 7.5. Since conference play got going after a pedestrian 3-0 start in non-conference action, I mean, I don't know if there's a game that you can pinpoint and say, that's the Oklahoma I'm used to because, even the Auburn game that they won, that was relatively fraudulent. I mean, they got outgained by 200 yards in that game. So I don't see if Alabama plays clean. I'll just put it this way: if they can limit the penalties, the pre-snap penalties, which they have struggled the last 3-4 years on the road with, if they can play, they're relatively turnover free. This should be a comfortable Crimson Tide victory.
Really? Okay. Brad, a little bullish on the Alabama Crimson Tide. We like that. I mean, your guys always give us an honest opinion, but it doesn't scare you that Brent Venables has had 2 weeks to prepare for this offense?
No, unless he had 2 weeks to get some different defensive players. I mean, they got some talent, but I wouldn't be overly scared. Okay. I mean, I know they had a good game plan against Ole Miss, and they gave them some fits, but it's just I can't get the Texas game dominated against South Carolina. If you watch the first half of that game, I mean, it was a pretty stark contrast. But I mean, it was not just X's and O's; it was Jimmy's and Joe's. I mean, South Carolina had a lot more ball players than Oklahoma. If you watch that game, so. Again, I stand by. If Alabama plays clean, it's an easy double-digit victory.
All right, so we're kind of doing a little segue here through Alabama. Obviously, we need Alabama to win against Oklahoma, beat Auburn, and but we need a little bit of help. The Missouri Tigers go to Stark Vegas. They go there as a 7.5-point favorite. Davis Wade Stadium against Mississippi State. Thoughts?
Yeah, I lean Mississippi State off the bye, getting an all-important hook there at 7.5. I'll take that. It hasn't been a great season by any stretch of the imagination for Mississippi State, but I haven't seen quit in them. They've covered a lot of point spreads, so I think, Brady Cook's still probably not being 100%. I know Gray gave a great effort last week. I'll take the hook with the Bulldogs there.
Okay, so you like Mississippi State plus the points here. Let's go to the game of the week. It's in Columbus, Ohio. It's Indiana traveling with a 12-point points here against Ohio State in Columbus.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's the right side. Unfortunate news for them, starting center. You guys are familiar with him, McLaughlin. I don't think he's a fan favorite there in Tuscaloosa, but to lose your starting center at this point in the season, your second starting offensive lineman at this point in the season, not great news, I think, for Ohio State as far as their chance of winning a national championship. Chances of covering this game and winning this game, I still like them because, again, Indiana hasn't played anybody, and it's just Ohio State's, we're talking double digits better than anybody Indiana's faced this season. And I saw Indiana in their last game struggle against the most talented team they played, and that being, I know Michigan's had a bad season, but Michigan still has 4 or 5 guys on that defense that are probably going in the first couple rounds of the draft. And that Indiana offense only had 40 yards rushing, couldn't do anything in the second half. Ohio State's just as talented and better coached than Michigan, so I lean Ohio State.
All right, but could you make an argument that Indiana belongs in the college football playoffs if they lose this game?
Well, what's the margin? Lose by 3? At 11-1, they would deserve to be in my opinion. Now, it's a question they got to ask themselves. Are you putting in the best teams or are you putting in the most deserving teams? So until they answer that question directly, then I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, Brad, I wish they would go to Las Vegas and they would bring up you handicappers and go, we want you, and you on our committee. I don't like these sitting ADs. It bothers me because there's a financial gain. There's a financial gain for maybe they've got more integrity than I do. But I'm biased to my employer, and I'm sure they are too. But even though they put those hats on the table before they walk in that room.
Yeah, I hear you. It can't always be about Vegas. At some point the game's got to matter because there's going to be some seasons where 3-4 loss teams would be, considered top 10-ish. Indiana's taking a lot of flack. I got them number 10 in my power ratings, so it's not like the more travesty is the Big 12 champ getting in and getting a top 4 seed. The Group of 5 champ getting in and getting the high seed. The ACC champ. I have Indiana over all those teams, so I know they're getting a lot of flack, but reality is Indiana be favored over a bunch of those teams in the Big 12 and ACC and Boise State.
All right, let's go to some other games here. Ole Miss and Florida. Ole Miss on the road in the Swamp, 11.5 points.
I'm part of the money on Ole Miss. It was under 10 a few days ago. Now it's over the important number of 10, but I think this is a blowout. I know Florida's been pesky, especially in the Swamp, but 12 o'clock Swamp's a little bit different than nighttime there. And boy, I know they lost to Kentucky. I know they missed squandered some scoring opportunities at LSU. But if Ole Miss plays anywhere near their A game, they're as good of a football team as anybody in the country. You don't believe me? Ask Georgia. They whipped Georgia. They weren't even healthy, and now they're getting Trey Harris, who led the nation when he went out of the lineup against LSU. He led the nation in receiving. Now you're putting that back into that offense, and I love their defensive front, one of the best defensive fronts in the country. I like Ole Miss to dominate Florida.
Penn State on the road at Minnesota. Penn State minus the 11.5.
Yeah, I think historically, I would say Minnesota would scream to me like play of the week, but I don't know if this year's Minnesota team is built to give this one a game. They can't run the football. They're only averaging 105 yards per game. That's their least for Minnesota in 15 years. They throw it more than they run it. So I question their ability to run it. That means Penn State's going to stack the line of scrimmage. I think they can cover the wide receivers for Minnesota. That wouldn't scare me. So I don't see a pathway for much success for Minnesota's offense.
Auburn, Texas A&M down on the Plains.
Yeah, I'll call my shot here. I like Auburn to win the game outright. I'm not buying this A&M team. I'm just, they've only covered 3 of their 10 games so far this season. They probably got too much credit for the South Carolina performance But other than that, I mean, I thought they were outplayed against Arkansas. They could have lost the Bowling Green, believe it or not. I know the Missouri game, they looked dominant there. LSU game was turnovers. So I think they're kind of a fraudulent 8-2 team. I think, statistically, believe it or not, Auburn's better, superior statistically. It's just, Auburn's turned the football over consistently. If Auburn plays, I don't expect them to play relatively clean because that's just not who they are. But if they play relatively clean, Auburn, I think they win the game outright.
BYU and Arizona State. BYU 9-1, 6-1 of the Big 12. Arizona State minus the 3.
I think it's the right number, 3. I mean, that's a key number. I was expecting to have a big play on Arizona State this week. If you'd asked me this question about this game a week ago, I'd said, obviously Arizona State. But from a value aspect, you lost a lot of it. Arizona State went out on the road and beat Kansas State outright and controlled that game from start to finish. BYU, I expected, I kind of expected them to struggle against Kansas, but they probably should have won that game, BYU. They had 4 trips inside the red zone, resulting in a total of 6 points. So that was a little bit misleading. So I guess what I'm getting at is I expected it to be closer to pick 'em. As far as this line, it's not. I think it's correct at 3.
All right, so I just got a Twitter message here a couple of seconds ago. You were talking about Auburn. What is an early line? What do you think it would be on Auburn, Alabama? I mean, if Alabama wins, Auburn wins, does that make that line a little closer?
Yeah, it'll make it a little closer. But, Alabama's going to be favored by, 14.5, 15.5 points. Now, Auburn wins. Alabama plays to expectation, wins by a couple touchdowns. We're probably looking at Alabama favored by about a couple touchdowns.
Is there another team out here in the top 12 that would be projected? You could even go outside of the top 12. That might be on upset alert as far as the games that we haven't talked about?
Upset alert. I see. Everyone asks me, what do you think of the committee rankings and stuff? Half the time, I don't even know what the committee rankings are. I could care less. The only time I really care about it is when they decide to put them in the playoff matchups are set. No, I don't. A lot of people are calling Army over Notre Dame. I don't see that. Army hasn't played anybody yet. Boy, you mentioned the Penn State game. I think Kentucky, if they're healthy, I think they could give it a game at least, but they're not overly healthy. Miami will not struggle with Wake Forest. In my opinion, they'll score enough. I'm not sure that they'll cover 25. Tennessee was not struggling with UTEP. Georgia's not struggling with UMass. So, no, at least on paper, I don't see an upset. But you know what that means. We're probably heading towards 1 or 2 this weekend or 1 or 2 next weekend. So everybody crying like Tennessee and some of the other SEC fans, let's let the games play out. Some of them teams ahead of them, I think I wouldn't be stunned if they lost, including, like Notre Dame at USC next week, I think is a very dangerous spot for Notre Dame.
Okay. All right. I better not do this, but if we do get a little help from the Missouri Tigers and Alabama's able to win, like you said, against Oklahoma, beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl, we might have an Alabama-Texas SEC title game. That's intriguing to me.
Yeah. What can you clarify? Why do you need Missouri to beat Mississippi State? Is that like one of the major I'm not totally familiar with tiebreakers.
Listen, it literally took me studying this, and I still didn't come up with a math. It's an opponent winning percentage. So when we thought Kalen Moore was struggling, he really wasn't struggling. What he was trying to do is he was trying to boost confidence with the opposing team. Even though I'm just making that part up. I was seeing if he was going to buy on me, but like when you beat South Carolina by 2, they walked out of Tuscaloosa with confidence. And so it's opponent winning percentage that would put Alabama there. You need Missouri to either beat Mississippi State or Arkansas in the next 2 weeks. If they beat one of those teams.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the opponent winning percentage, because the Missouri Tigers is one of those opponent wins for Alabama, it would launch them into the SEC title game.
All right. Thank you for that. I did know that Alabama controls most of the tiebreakers. So, if you're looking for an early line on that, since you helped me out, probably close to pick them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm the market's probably going to have Texas 1 or 2. I would hope that it comes 3 because I'll bet the Crimson Tide. I'm not overly sold on this Texas team because they haven't played anybody. Played one team, got beat and beat soundly by Georgia on their home field. So,
but they'll beat Texas A&M.
I'm looking to bet
right?
Alabama there.
They'll beat Texas. They'll beat Texas A&M next week, right?
Yeah, should. They're favored by about a 7. But I'm telling you, everybody that this will happen. That's not how college football works. Like if I told you Texas A&M loses to Auburn, turns around and beats Texas, would I be stunned at that? No, I wouldn't. So And look, I bet Alabama this week. I think they'll be in the SEC championship game. But would you be absolutely stunned if Oklahoma or Auburn tripped up this Crimson Tide team? I wouldn't be.
But it just feels like this team has turned the corner. It does,
but I will caveat because I try to keep it real.
No, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't put the mortgage on there. Like you always say, pizza bet, maybe.
Yeah, anybody can beat anybody this year. I don't see any dominant team. There's more parity than ever before. Would not be surprised if Alabama went and ran the table and won it all. But if you told me that right now, I wouldn't call you crazy. But LSU, they killed LSU, and that was totally unexpected as far as I was concerned. But that LSU win didn't age that well with LSU losing to Florida, and LSU could lose this week to Vanderbilt. So, and beating a banged up Missouri team with Drew Pine at quarterback, let's see what the Crimson Tide got this week. I got high hopes for them. If they show it this week and win comfortably, then I'll come on next week's show and say, yeah, you're looking at the SEC champs.
All right. Brad Powers, and we may have to catch up because Thanksgiving. We'll see if you have some availability on Friday or on Wednesday. We'll see if we always love to pick your brain. So hopefully we get the opportunity to talk with you, Brad. I really appreciate it. Let me invite people to connect with you. Brad Powers 7 on the X account. And you can also find him at bradpowersports.com, bradpowersports.com. Hey, Brad, appreciate you. And if we talk to you after Thanksgiving, hopefully you have a great day enjoying some great food, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me. Happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving. Brad Powers helping us out there. He's a guy that we always love. I mean, we love picking his brain about college football. Brad, I could have asked him about this popcorn team against this popcorn team. It doesn't matter. Listen, that's what he is able to talk about. He can rattle it through when you talk about those teams. That's why I trust those handicappers, man. They're biased toward one thing. You know what it is? Green. Southern Ale House, Dockside. You'll find it up on Marina Drive. You go Highway 43, 3 miles north, Marina Drive on the right-hand side of 43. You'll find our good folks right there. Southern Ale House, Dockside. If you're looking for the kimchi chicken, oh yeah. That I saw a photo of that from Dockside. Brett Garner sent it to me earlier. Looks great. But if you're looking for great menu items, they've got all of that. If you're looking for the original location, 1530 McFarland Boulevard, Southern Ale House. We'll continue with more of the game. Tide 100.9, 1230. Do a lot of different things here. We're going to talk to Brian Bosworth coming up in about an hour and 5 minutes. We're going to talk to Josh in Georgia coming up here in just a couple of seconds. But I will tell you that Alabama leads the NCAA and SEC and the SEC in latest graduation success rates. Alabama posts a 96 GSR with 11 Crimson Tide teams scoring a perfect 100. Let that sink in. Not just as what was the Notre Dame AD a couple of weeks ago called us a football factory. Yeah, we're that. Yeah, we are a football factory. Yeah, we're a football factory. Yeah. We're also pretty good in academics, too. By the way, that football factory that you're talking about, Alabama football posted an all-time best graduation success rate of 97, leading the SEC for the first time, third nationally among the power conferences teams. This marks the 16th year for football squad, has ranked in the top 4 in GSR among the SEC teams. Let that sink in. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. I just got a text message from Brian Bosworth. Jackson, would you rather go now? Would you rather go now for Brian Bosworth, or would you rather go? I'll tell you what. All right, hold on. Would you rather go now or 5:30? Your choice. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
We can go now. We can send it to break here, and we can take him here.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's do that. Because he's traveling, and I appreciate the folks up on hold being flexible. Bryce in San Antonio, thank you. Josh in Georgia, appreciate you being patient. Let's go to Brian, and we're not going to be able to take that phone call. I know we're going to have to clear a line. I'll tell you what, let me take Josh in Georgia. That'll clear a line up. And let me take Josh in Georgia, and then that'll give us a line that we can use for Brian Bosworth, because we're literally packed up with phone calls. Hey, Josh, appreciate you, man. Hope all is well. Hey, Josh.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Sweet. All right. But I seen that graphic the university posted earlier, and all I got to say to that is, Roll Tide. We're not just a football factory, but, hey, we got some people with some brains. But we're also smash those brains in, too, because you don't want to play us on the football field. So, and, man, who's that guy? I'm not even going to get into it. I was going to say, who's that Georgia fan that was calling in earlier? Man, somebody needs – I ain't far from Atlanta. I ain't going to go do it because I'm trying to be a nice guy, respectable guy, but, man, he's talking out his rear end. Georgia ain't nowhere near close to us. They may be second best in the conference with SEC titles and this, that, and the other, but they ain't nowhere near close to us. And I really don't think they want to play us again because the way this defense is playing, we talked about it Tuesday or Wednesday whenever I put my score in, the way this defense is playing, creating turnovers, it's unbelievable. And I don't think Tennessee wants to play us again. And I really don't think Texas wants to play us. Sorry, Digger. Horns down. Texas don't want to play us. This defense is coming together the way that they talked about it, swarming to the football, creating turnovers. And I absolutely love it. So I don't care who we have. If we get to go to Atlanta, I don't care who we have to play at this point. Let's go play them and let's go beat them. So,
and that's like you sound like Brad Powers a couple of minutes ago, right? I mean,
if we get into the SEC championship, I feel confident that we're going to win the thing. I mean, is it leery that we could have a third loss handed to us? Sure, but we know that our back's against the wall. Look what we did at Baton Rouge. We went into Baton Rouge at night and smashed their skull in. And I'm thoroughly convinced that this team can do that in Norman, Oklahoma, because Oklahoma is not a very good football team. And we got Auburn next week, and Auburn's not a very good football team. I mean, they've probably been practicing the triple option since the Vanderbilt game because Hugh Freeze is a slime ball, but I don't care. I'm ready to get these last two games over with, smash heads into the ground, and see where our fate lies. Do we get to Atlanta? Do we not? Do we get a home game? Do we have to go on the road? I do not care. Just give me a helmet and let me help out. I mean, good grief. I'm ready to go charge through a door right now.
You sound fired up, man. I like this. I mean, I like this version of Josh.
I am. You know I'm always fired up. But right now, it's like this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sick of listening to all the outsiders, other fans, other fan bases comment about my team because this is our team. We control our own destiny. Hey, if we had to play Ole Miss, let's play Ole Miss. I'm not going to lie. That matchup in Atlanta would be fun because we could say, hey, Pete, see you later. I mean, we done said to see you later to Pete, but I'm just saying we could give him that third L and, send him on his merry way. But I don't really care. I mean, let's get these last two games of the regular season over with, and let's see where our fate lies. Because we are the most historical program in college football. And when you are the mountain, everybody else just wants to climb up to the top and be with you. But nobody's even close. So,
well, it is certainly to be able to, you almost have to stop and pinch yourself just a little bit, right? I mean, to be able to think about, this Alabama football program, to be able to, put themselves in a position, it's special, man. I mean, it is. I mean, you just stop and you understand why there's so many people that hate us, right? I mean, it just.
Right. I know. You run through the credentials every day at 5 o'clock. That's why they hate us. They hate us because they ain't us. So, and we was in this position last year. We was pretty much controlling our own destiny. And look what we went and did after a loss against Texas at home. We go, we beat the Bull Puppies. We stop at three-peat. And at this point, I don't care who we have to play if we go to Atlanta. Let's go to Atlanta. Let's take care of business, though, the next 2 weeks, regular season, and see where the chips fall. So
awesome. Hey, thanks, man.
Everything's ahead of us. Yeah, buddy.
Sorry, Josh. I feel like I'm in a little coming into the SEC. You start highlighting, and I think I've told people that my wife works part-time with the University of Oklahoma, even though she's a University of Alabama, teaches at University of Alabama. We also go out there several times a year and respect the Blue Bloods. We've all got to stick together, and right now it is an absolute honor to be able to welcome in a two-time Butkus winner, a unanimous All-American in 1985 and 1986. He's a College Football Hall of Fame member. Brian Bosworth, welcome to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Thank you again for doing the interview. I hope all is well, sir.
Everything's great, Ryan.
Well,
great with you guys. I know that. Another great year for Bama.
Absolutely. But, man, I can't wait to just pick your brain about a lot of different stuff. And let me ask you, when you look at the game currently from your perspective, what do you see in the world of college football?
chaos, destruction, non-loyalty, really the foundation of the essence of college football has been flushed. Shall I go on?
Yeah. Well, hey, listen. Hey, you've earned the right to go on. Please, don't stop.
Well, I just think that the introduction to the NIL and the destructive transfer portal and the fact there's no regulations, there's no rules, there's black money or dark money that comes in. It's all shadowy. Players aren't coached anymore. They're managed. Coaches can't coach anymore. They have to have a closet full of hats. They have part-time coaching hat. They have a part-time counseling hat. They have a part-time, psychology hat. They have a part-time, it's a constant cradling. It's a softening of, the purpose of what, having the honor to work your way from, a childhood dream, making the sacrifices, the dedications, the things you have to do, as a high school player and put all that hard work in, not only the work that you're required to do, but the work that nobody expects you to do, but you do because you have a goal and a dream that you're trying to, get to. And, and then there's a commitment of a promise to, provide an education and a strong sense of tradition and family and all that comes with, with a lot attached to it. And the attachments are just snipped so quickly because it's now become, and I've heard this phrase multiple times now from these young high school kids, which is shocking, but high school kids and college kids, well, I have to make a business decision, which is sad because really the Institute of College Football, and the reason we love college football so much is because there's a legacy and there's a great tradition of players that the fans get to know. Coaches go out and spend a lot of time evaluating and recruiting, and they want to get the best quality human being and the best quality athlete onto their campus and then cultivate that, that young man and turn him from a young man into a graduating member of that institution, and then goes on from a 4-year commitment to a 40-year process of success, but has a family to fall back on. That's the alumni. And that all that's been gone. It's been erased from, this business decisions that now the leverage has gone from the coaches being able to influence young people to now they have to kind of be their friends, and that's not what the relationship is supposed to be. I've never had, this friendship with my coach. I've always had a earned respect and my expectation of what that coach is requiring me to do in order to gain his trust so that I can be entrusted to go out there and be, a representative of the school and that tradition. So all of that has been watered down and diluted because the NIL and the transfer portal has allowed these players to just kind of, if I don't like it here, or you hurt my feelings, if something doesn't feel right, I'm just going to pack my bags and I'm just going to go on down the road. So you lose that sense of family, and the fans really miss out because from year to year, they don't know who's going to be on the team. They look down at the players on the field and they go, "Who's that guy? Where'd he come from? How'd we get him? Oh, this is his 6th year and he's gone through 4 different schools." So, this is stuff you just haven't heard. It's just crazy time in college football right now.
I want to go back to recruiting. Coach Barry Switzer was able to recruit you out of the state of Texas. What did it take to get you to Norman, Oklahoma?
I just needed a sense that if I went up there, that I would have an opportunity to get on the field. But it wasn't so much what he said; it's what I felt as a high school kid. I didn't have a lot of confidence. My high school coach in high school was not not one of those coaches that built us up. My senior year, we were 2-8. I always felt that I was a good athlete, and I was getting letters from all over the country, Alabama included, a lot of schools down in the SEC. For some reason, I just felt like, I'm just getting letters because I guess I'm in the system, or I just really want a school and a coach to tell me that they want me and that I'm needed and they have high expectations for me. And if I trust in the process that I will get my shot, and more than anything, be part of a family. And that's really what you're buying into from leaving your high school and your home and everything you've ever been comfortable with, and going away and trusting that that school is going to take care of you and invest in you so that you have a chance to succeed. And Coach Switzer did that. He said all the right things, and I point blank asked him, I said, "You can have any linebacker in the country. I come from a 2-8 school. Why are you fighting so hard to get me?" And he goes, "You don't believe in yourself, but I believe in you. And if you trust me and you come here, I will pull out what you don't think you have inside you, but I can do that for you. But you have to be willing to come here and trust the process and be part of our family." And once he did that, I knew where my address was going to be for the next 4 years.
So there's a story that I've tried to do some research on about him coming to your high school to recruit you. There's a great story attached to that. Would you mind sharing it?
Well, I, like many high school kids back in those days, was so enamored to just get recruited. Every school that I went to, I committed to them. So I went to SMU and committed to them in the locker room when they won the Southwest Conference Championship against Arkansas. And then went to Baylor and committed to Grant Taft because I just respected the way he coached. I didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings. So I'm coming, coach. I'm coming here. And then I went to LSU. I didn't commit to LSU because I just couldn't stand to think that I could eat that food for 4 years. I had agita for almost a week, had to drink Pepto-Bismol to calm my stomach down from the guys telling me.
You're trying to make some friends in Tuscaloosa talking like that. I like that.
Well, they were trying to talk me in. They put that big platter of crawfish in front of me, and they said, no, you can't just eat the tail. You got to suck the head. I said, why am I going to do that? So this is part of tradition. So I bought into that thing. So I didn't go there, and then I went to A&M, and Coach Jackie Sherrill was a coach there, and I really felt like I fit in there. It was a great environment. I looked and studied what they had on the roster, and I just felt like I could play here, And for some reason, back in those days, I looked at the Southwest Conference as kind of a notch below the Big 8 Conference. And back in those years, it always really came down to Nebraska and Oklahoma. Those are two big ones that kind of played at the end of the year, to win the conference championship and get the invitation to the bowl game in the Orange Bowl. And, so once I committed to A&M, and I always felt like, and I promised my grandfather I'd go to Oklahoma when I was 10 years old. He was a farmer in Meeker, Oklahoma, and he could never leave the farm. But I asked him why he wouldn't come. He goes, I just can't leave the farm. But if you're good enough and you can play at this little school down the street, I'll come watch you play down there. And I went and asked my grandma what the little school down the street was, and she said, "Oh, that's the University of Oklahoma." So I put that on my radar when I was 10. But as I studied them, I looked at the players that they had, and I thought, man, I can get a scholarship, but I don't want to stand on the sideline. I want to get a scholarship to play. And that was that whole doubt process. So I committed to A&M and canceled my trip to Oklahoma, and Coach Switzer found out like the very next day, and he came and visited me in my high school that following week. And he comes in. We had a school with 3,000, so our lunches were broken up into three segments. And I forget what segment I was in, but he walked in when there was 1,000 kids in our lunchroom, and see him across. He's unmistakable. But I see him across the lunchroom, and he's wearing a mink coat, and he's got all the bling bling on his fingers, and he's screaming my name, going, Boz, where are you at? I know you want one of these. So he kind of called me out, and that kind of started the relationship.
All right, we're trying to learn about now. Listen, we know the trophy cabinet's full at Oklahoma, but I want to take you to Austin. We have people that we do college football every day. We talk Alabama football 52 weeks out of the year, 4 hours a day, 5 days. I mean, we never stop. That's all we talk about. We have Texas people who call in and want to talk smack with us, and they talk about all these trophy cabinets. Can you help us understand Texas from your perspective?
They were the Karens before Karen was a Karen. They've always been that way. They have a sense of arrogance that goes about them, a sense of entitlement. It's just, I don't know. When you look at a picture of somebody, you can almost get a sense of their personality without them opening their mouth. Maybe it's the way they walk. Maybe it's the way they dress. Maybe it's the way their hair is cut. Maybe just the blush on their cheeks. I don't know. But when you see the Texas Longhorns as a group, now I'm not going to deface their program. They've had some great years and they've had some off years. Coach Sarkisian's done a great job of building that program back. But there's always that sense of entitlement that they have. The problem is they don't know how to be humble, and they don't accept where they are at certain times. They're always the first ones to come up with a bunch of excuses, and they love to sling Bevo's dung when they shouldn't. So it's just, being from Oklahoma and always having a grudge against Texas, it was one of the main reasons why I wanted to be a Sooner, because we got a chance to go play them in the Cotton Bowl in that Red River rivalry. And me having the talent that we had around us during the mid-'80s, it gave us, I guess, the platform in which we could kind of fight back with them, because I always felt like Texas always had the advantage in recruiting because the University of Texas in the big state. Now, there's just a lot more high schools, a lot more talent in Texas than there is Oklahoma. So Coach Switzer used to always come down and he would recruit kids out of Texas because in his words, he says, I think Texas kids deserve a chance to win a national champion just like everybody else does. They just have to come across the Red River to do it. But that's his way of, evening the score, because there is an imbalance in the size and beef, I guess you could say, when it comes to the University of Texas versus the University of Oklahoma or some of the other schools, because of just their size and how long they've been around.
You go back to the University of Oklahoma. When we look at Alabama going to Oklahoma, and I've told the audience about walking around the stadium, walking at the, just seeing the Walk of Champions, seeing all the history there. When you look at this program, what's it going to take to get back on track?
I think we're building it. I think it's been frustrating. The post Coach Stoops leaving, there was just this disconnection when Lincoln came in. I think we thought Lincoln was one thing, and we found out quickly that he wasn't. And then by that time, he had insulated himself and insulated the program, and he had brought in, in my opinion, he brought in the wrong people. He didn't recruit at all defense. His focus was not on defense at all. His main frame is always points and flash and, being the quarterback guru or, quarterback whisperer or whatever it is. He wasn't managing the tradition of what Oklahoma football is, and that's really hard-nosed defense with the complementary of a very physical offense. Now, I know the game has changed a little bit over the last 20, 25 years where, now it's wide open. So the adjustments were made during the Coach Stoops era. And Coach Stoops abided by, the need to have a strong defense in the early years of Coach Stoops. Very competitive on both sides of the ball, played very complimentary football. And during those years, we had Coach Venables as a defensive coordinator, and it really showed. His commitment to understanding the ever-changing landscape of the offenses made him, just a fantastic coach. And then once he left to go to Clemson, we started declining on that side of the ball. We maintained a certain amount of continuity on the offense, and even post Stoops leaving, we had an amazing amount of talent on the offensive side. But by that time, we were so imbalanced. We were scoring 50, 55 points a game, but we were giving up 45 to 55 points a game. So every game was not competitive. We weren't dominating them. We were just finding ourselves in the fourth quarter with enough talent to win. And unfortunately, you can't be an elite team with that kind of standard. Alabama's shown that eliteness is balance, and you have to do it consistently. And in order to do that, you can't do it for 2 years and then have 2 years off. And as I was looking up Alabama's history just here recently, the last 16 years, you guys have had 10 plus win seasons and won 5 national championships in a stretch that's unremarkable. And it really is the envy of college football, because during the transfer portal and all these other things that are happening, it seems that Alabama has insulated themselves against the change, and they've been able to keep those players, and they produce the right kinds of athletes, and they're consistent, and they have numbers. It's not just a single strain. They've got backups to the backups, and that's what's separated them. So it's going to take that for Brent Venables. Now, this has been an unfortunate year just because of the number of injuries, and I think he's still building. I think his focus was coming into the SEC, building that strong defense, because we all realize defenses wins championships at the end of the day. And getting a dominant defense, and it starts with the defensive line. He's able to do that this year. We still have a lot of work to do on defenses, but unfortunately, the offense this year has been just snake bit with injuries on the offensive line. That our wide receivers, we got not a veteran quarterback, so we thought we had a known commodity there. But when you can't protect him and you can't give him a running game, it puts him in a disadvantage. So everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for Oklahoma on the offensive side of the ball, which is just kind of made this kind of a forgettable year. And we're going to fight through it. There's one thing that Oklahoma always does is they never quit, and they always have pride. Now, these guys, I know these guys, have been around them enough times over the last couple of years. There's pride in that locker room, but we've got a lot of youth, and if you just don't have the numbers on your side of the ball, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, you're going to struggle.
You're listening right now to Brian Bosworth here with us, visiting on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Just getting that legal ID out of the way. We're going to run through this break here. I got a couple of more questions for you. You mentioned being recruited by Alabama. I think about you and Cornelius Bennett and on that football team. Did you ever get to know Cornelius Bennett?
Yeah, I know Biscuit pretty well. He's a great athlete. I think if I'm not mistaken, during that time, wasn't Coach Perkins the? He was.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I wanted to go that far away from home. I kind of wanted to stay in close proximity. I didn't know a whole lot about Alabama. I didn't study them because I just never felt like that. That feels like a home base for me. Obviously they're a fantastic program, and they during that period of time, they weren't they were great, but they weren't dominant. I think they struggled on offense. I think they were trying to find an identity on offense, but their defense was good. And that's always a hard thing to kind of balance, try to find, where you have a complementary program where your offense is as good as your defense, and they compete against each other as who's the dominant force on the team and who really drives the team to success. And that's kind of the way we were at Oklahoma. I think our offense felt like once we went back to the wishbone, it was like, hey, man, we run the roost. It's not quite, dude. Just take a back seat, bro, because you guys put us in more peril than we should, because you guys are constantly fumbling the ball. We have to go out there and save your tail. But it's a high-risk offense. But you need that kind of competitiveness on your football team, because it does rise the expectations of the players, and it makes them dig deeper and find places where they didn't think that they can go. And, when they get to places that are uncomfortable, if they see that their teammates are fighting through it, then they're going to fight through it as well. So, you know, I think, you know, it's an honor to be able to get a scholarship offer from any university, but it's really a special honor to get the scholarship opportunities to go to these blue blood schools. And I think you just have to weigh out how you would fit into that program, and are you built to be part of that program? And it does take a tremendous amount of dedication and just desire to fight through that, knowing that there's going to be great athletes that come in that you're going to compete with, and there's going to be guys that come in after you, and you're going to have to hold your own. And if you're the kind of athlete that's constantly looking to build and get better, then those blue blood programs are a perfect fit for those high school recruits.
What's more nerve-wracking, sitting on a stage filming a movie because you're an actor as well, or lining up with a football game with prime time?
Probably just the the acting part, because that's, you know, and I didn't make myself you know, from a time I was a kid to want to be an actor. I was an athlete from the time I was probably 4 or 5 years old, which is when I started playing football. But, you know, I played every sport that I thought was important, you know, to help facilitate the football part of it. My number one sport was always football, so I played soccer for footwork and speed. I played basketball for you know, the same purpose. And, you know, acting was one of those things. Once I lost my career, it was really one of those, man, I'm going into a hole, I'm going into a black hole fast, and I got to find something to pull me out of it. And I thank God at that time I had an agent that had a different agenda. I wasn't really interested in it when he started talking to me about it before I got into the pros, but he always said I wanted to have an athlete that could transcend football for sports. And at that time, I think he had Mark Gastineau, and he had a few other the over-the-top athletes. So he always had this envision of me going into the movie business, but I didn't have an interest into it until after my career was over. And I think Michael Douglas called me, and he said, "Man, we got to reinvent you, boss. You know, unfortunately your career is over, but that doesn't mean your life is over." And you know, and I just kept telling him, just like I told Coach Switzer, "I don't know why you want me to do this movie so bad. I am not an actor. I have no idea what I'm doing." He goes, "Don't worry about it. We're going to help you. We're going to coach you." And that's the thing about, you know, I took that mentality to acting, because acting is very much like playing sports. You've got a team around you. You got to be respectful. You got to work hard. You got to show up. You got to do the work. You got to be patient. You have to work with others. You can't be a prima donna. You have to have all those, you know, the same kind of attributes. You know, it's been a blessing to do that, but unfortunately, acting is not one of those things that was ever a dream, but it has definitely filled the hole that was vacated once my career had left.
Final question, and I want you to take as much time as you need. I'm a guy that I'm on a secular station, but I talk about my faith every day when I end my show. Your faith is very important to you. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, you know, that's a really long story. I try to put that down into small little segments here. It wasn't like I didn't know God. My grandmother used to talk about God all the time. I didn't make fun of her, but I didn't understand when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and you pass by your grandma's room and she's in there talking to herself, and I just stick my head in there. I said, "Grandma, who are you talking to?" And she goes, "I'm talking to God. I'm talking to Jesus." And we go, "There's nobody in the room." And she goes, "Well, Jesus is everywhere." So she introduced me to him. But, you know, as we grow up, you know, we get into our friends, and, you know, just part of it, I think your relationship with God, it becomes a convenient relationship. And, you know, if it's not a constant in your life and you don't see it, and it's not something that your parents show you, and it's not something that your close friends show you, then you use it as a crutch. You use it as a fear campaign. And, you know, just, you know, God help me do this, or God help me do that. But there's always a quid pro quo with having a relationship. You have to put in as much as you want to take out. And you don't always get what you want out of it because his plan is always better than your plan. So once I lost my career, I think my relationship with God, it deteriorated super fast. And I felt like he abandoned me because he didn't really understand why I lost the career. I felt like I had done everything that he had asked me to. But in retrospect, I look back on it and I see clearly now, cloudy then, clear now, that I wasn't patient and I wasn't peaceful and I wasn't on his path. I was on my path. And when you insert your path over his path, then he'll correct you, and it may not be when you want to be corrected. So I look at the loss of my career as his correction to my path, and it took me a good 20 years of having a grudge with him. And I built a wall around my heart and said, you know what? I hear you knocking, but you can't come in because you hurt me so bad that I don't know that I can trust you again. And I don't know what direction I'm going right now, but I just know that it didn't work out the way that I anticipated it working out. And, nothing seemed to be working in my life at that point in time. And yet I had everything that a guy would want. I had 3 beautiful kids. I had a great house out in California. I had all the tangible, but I didn't have the stuff that really mattered. And, I didn't have any love in my heart. I didn't have any emotion. I just was cynical about just about everything in my life. And then a movie came, ironically into my life. And my agent, I was actually on my way out of California when it came in. He called me in 2012. And at that time, I had already made the decision, I'm out of here. I'm done with this place. And he said, are you still in town? I said, yeah. He goes, I got a movie for you. I said, I'm not really interested. I'm leaving town. He goes, well, you don't even have to read for it. They just want you for the part. And I said, well, I'm not that interested in doing it. He said, well, let me at least send you the script. You take a look at it. And I said, all right, because I knew the only way I'd get him off the phone is to say I'd read the script. So I sent it over. And I said, what role am I playing? He told me the guy's name. He said, oh, before I let you off the phone, I got to let you know it's a Christian movie. And I just rolled my eyes. I go, Lord, are you kidding me? First of all, nobody's going to watch this. And secondly, I definitely am not going to enjoy reading the script. So I read the first 15, 20 pages of it. And then I called the agent back and said, sorry, I think you sent me the wrong script. There's nothing Christian about this movie, at least not the script. And he goes, well, no. Read it. I said, well, which part am I reading? He told me again what part I'm reading for. I said, that guy starts the movie killing people with a giant hammer. I don't know. I think I know Christian pretty good, but that doesn't sound Christian to me. And he goes, no, just read the whole script. And as I read the script, I realized that character was me. It was all encompassing of everything that I had put behind that wall, which was my anger, my fear, my disdain, my distrust, everything that I hated about myself. It reminded me a lot of my father, because I looked at myself, I go, I'm turning into that man, and I don't know how to run away from it, but I know that's where I'm going. And I had given into that. I said, well, I guess if this is my future, this is my future, because I'm choosing this as my future. So I went ahead and agreed to do the film. And then at the end of the film, it was about the rapture. And I thought it was interesting. And then once I saw the final product, I realized once the rapture happened and I started to understand what the rapture was really all about. And I thought, man, I really am not going. I'm not going because I'm choosing not to go. And how sad for me that I have an open invitation to be able to go, and yet I'm getting in the way of myself because I've got so much pride and ego that I refuse to even have a conversation, even at least open the door. And that really started the process of tearing that wall down. And it gave me a different perspective. And on March 13th, after taking that film, and I took it back to Oklahoma, and I was previewing it for audiences in Oklahoma, and on the third showing, there was a pastor in Chickasha, Oklahoma, who was that's a much longer story, but he was on me. He goes, I know why you're here. I know why you think it's an accident that you're here. You think it's a coincidence that you're here in Chickasha, Oklahoma, showing us this movie. And I said, I don't know where you're going, but I don't like it. And he kept challenging me, and he said, hey, I'm a fisher of men. And I'm going to tell you something. I have seen a lot of men that are lost, but I've never seen a man so lost, so desperate to be found.
Wow.
So that's when you get a second chance, I mean, you just got to take it. You can't let the chances of your life go by. You got to pick them up, because he'll never leave you. But you can walk away from him, but he will never leave you. So I kind of needed that lesson, I guess, in my life at that point in time in my life, and it really has been, it's been a blessing. But at the end of the day, I still go. I still wanted to be a football player, but he had other plans for me. So I have to trust that other plan is a much, much better plan.
Brian Bosworth, simply amazing. What an interview. My hair standing up on both arms talking about your faith. Simply amazing. I hope we can do it again as we welcome Oklahoma into the SEC. But more importantly, as you say on your Twitter and X account, playing on one team, following only one captain. Find more. You can get him at GotBoz44. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on X. Brian Bosworth, it's an absolute honor to be able to talk with you, not just about football, but your faith story is probably very revealing to a lot of people out there, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Good luck, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian Bosworth talking about Oklahoma, a unanimous All-American, two-time Butkus winner. Wow, what a fun conversation to be able touching conversation. We'll continue. Here, watch this.
Can I dance with you?
All right.
Cut the music.
Cut the music. Thank you.
Music, Jackson.
Thank you, Jackson.
Woo.
Roll Tide. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ryan Fowler. I was at the fish house today with my buddy Kerry Moore, pouring me some beers, some PBRs, and I missed Jim's call. I'm sorry I missed Jim's call. Jim from Tuscaloosa, the great one.
He may never forgive you. I mean, to have one show where we had Brian Bosworth, Jim from Tuscaloosa, and Bama Nick. I mean, we're going to the ratings top. We're going to the ratings top.
That's right. Jim from Tuscaloosa, the greatest caller ever to any sports talk show that he calls in on. Well, fella, I mentioned this back in the past, that I base my calls on what I learned from Jim when he was calling the other show that you don't like me to mention. But he's the greatest caller of that show. And I always, that's what inspired me to call the other show. When I first heard him, I said, hell, I got to call in here and talk to the other show. And I listened to Jim, and Jim knows Bama Nick was up there in the rankings for 10 years, up there. But Jim, I'm sorry I missed your call today. I was up at the fish house drinking. Yeah, but call in, Jim. Call in tomorrow. I'll be sure to listen to it tomorrow.
I got you.
Jim, call him up. Call Jim up. Tell him Bama Nick's on the line. Want to talk to him.
Do you have his number?
No, I don't have Jim's number.
Okay.
I mean, I Twitter with. I mean, we're on Twitter, or now I guess it's Twitter. They call it X now, whatever. It don't matter to me. I go Twitter.
Yeah. I just like Twitter. It sounds better.
Yeah, there you go, pal.
I mean,
Oh, it's a great show today, fella. You had a great show today. I've been listening, when I got home and started listening. Yeah, Brian Bosworth is good. He's from the old school headhunters class. You know who else was a great headhunter in football? One of my all-time favorites, Jack Tatum. You remember him?
I do not. Help me.
Tatum? Hell, Tommy, he's a historian, and he's a great caller. Tommy's a great historian. He'll know who Jack Tatum is. He was a headhunter. Played at Ohio State.
What years would that have been? Help me, because, I'm not as old as you are.
Let me think. See, Tatum played back in the 70s.
Yeah, I was born in 78. I don't remember that unless...
Yeah, Tommy will correct me if I'm wrong, but he'll know who Jack Tatum is. One of the best players ever played in the game in the old school football. I call it the old school football, when you could headhunt and hit a receiver coming over the middle and take him out. You wouldn't get called for targeting and all this other crap.
So, Bama Nick, you remember back in the summer?
Well, come on, talk to me, fella. What do you got to talk to me about?
So, I'm still excited about this number one recruit, this number one quarterback.
Yeah, I heard that.
Because you remember when our buddy Matt was over there talking about Bama's burning and, we're barely, we're not going to have enough to make a team. And, they would rub it in talking about Bryce Underwood, number one recruits going to LSU.
Yeah.
He just slammed the door.
Brian Kelly.
He just slammed the door on Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I think I saw something the other day where I think they were going to pay him like $10.5 million to come to LSU, wasn't it?
Don't know. I don't know
when is NIL deal?
Well, and a lot of these NIL deals are just kind of throwing stuff up against the thing. Simon, you got something to add to it? Hold on.
That was Michigan that offered him that.
Yeah. Well, it was Michigan, but you know that LSU was paying a pretty good, and so obviously.
No, I think I saw something. Now, Simon, I saw something on the Facebook the other day.
Well, but there's so many.
Brian Kelly's
there's so many.
That number one recruit.
Yeah, there's so many fake accounts out there with that. Listen, we pour. I see so much fake stuff out there.
Like the accounts saying all this stuff about Keanu.
Oh, listen, please. I was called today by Detroit, Michigan, asking me about that. I'm like, no, it's fake. It's a fake account. But people keep sharing the crap. People share this stuff, and it's like, Ryan Williams and a Crimson Net, and Jalen Milroe and this. It's like, please. And listen, a lot of that's probably coming from across the state because, Bama Nick, they've got like 4 wins.
I know it, but I saw that. That's the only reason they ain't fired Kelly.
Oh yeah,
because he has the number one, I think, quarterback. I think it was or something coming in next year, and he about $10.5 million or something, NIL deal or something. That's the only thing that's saving his ass, Fowler.
Yeah, but if you think about this, though, because Bryce Underwood was down in, I believe, the Alabama and LSU game, and he had to sit there and watch Kalen DeBoer spank that butt, right? And the Crimson Tide. He probably said, no, I'm not getting beat by this guy every year.
I don't know, but Tommy is the guru. Tommy from Rama, and I love Tommy to death. He's a great caller. I love him to death. And he is up on the stats and all this historian stuff, and he'll call tomorrow and let me know if I'm wrong or
I got you.
Whatever.
All right.
I have no problem with that. If I'm wrong, I'll be corrected. I have no problem with that.
All right.
But I did want to say one thing. What was I going to say?
I got to get to breaks. I'm at 41 minutes.
I know you were going to take me for the last few minutes. I know how you do, fella.
Yeah, I did it just for you.
But there was something else I wanted to say.
Okay, well, we can get it tomorrow on a SEC Parlay Pick Day presented by Brian Harden.
I already got Parlay Pick.
Okay.
I'll give them to you early.
Okay, I got to run, Bama Nick. I really do. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll call you tonight, fella.
Okay. Please do. Please do. Please, I can't wait to hear from you.
Yeah, I know you do, fella. I know you love him from Bama Nick. Jim, call in tomorrow. And
message, and this is a gigantic booster at the University of Alabama. Matter of fact, there's 10 founder suites at the University of Alabama. This guy has one of them. He sent me a message a couple of minutes ago that he might have some Oklahoma tickets that that he might have up. So just let me know. Let me know if you're looking for Oklahoma tickets. I know it's a long way to drive, so if you got some need for that, might be something I can connect you with. Okay, let's go to Digger. Digger, good afternoon. You want some Oklahoma tickets?
Yeah.
You see a real football team up there. It's called the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Never mind all that. Bosworth. That was epic. Unbelievable, huh?
It's a great interview. It was fun. It was fun to be able to relive some of those great memories.
That's not half the story, buddy. This guy swam with the scourge of every industry known to man, whether it was acting, oil and gas, real estate, politics in Austin. He was disgusting. He was always looking for a massive payoff for something. And it finally, he turns to God. I'm telling you, he could write a book and it would be a bestseller. He's an unsavory character, and thank God, since he appropriated and had kids, he turned his life around. Holy cow. It was a great story to hear. It really was.
Well, I had no clue it was that deep. I mean, it's one of those interviews that, listen, we ran through the top of the hour. I did legal stamp the ID because I covered, you always cover the legal ID as long as you get it by the FCC. And I did that at the top of the hour, but I knew there was no chance of us making that because I didn't want to stop him. But simply amazing.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, I don't know if you knew this or not. You know all that. Tommy brought it up about painting his hair, putting arrows and all that stuff. That was part of a militia. When you go to Oklahoma, there's like 30 or 40 tribes there, and that land is sacred. They're very bitter about the Americans taking over, okay? They're very bitter about all that. And Bosworth was in on all that. And I remember they busted a bunch of football players with shotguns and machine guns in the dorm. Why? Because they had some underground militia going on with the Native Americans. I mean, he was on roids. He was raging out of control. He was bitter with everybody, including himself. Fascinating story. What a character, really was. And, of course, he's going to say something about Texas. Like Barry Switzer earlier this morning. We're swimming in their heads.
Was he on with Wimpy Berry?
They got a problem with Texas. Even when they were winning Big 12 titles, they had a problem with Texas.
Digger, was Barry Switzer on with Wimpy Berry this morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. And he dropped a few bombs. He's an old man. He can't control himself. It was hilarious. But no, he's the same way, too. Very unsavory character, and he was proud about it and so forth. And fortunately, he's been able to settle down, and maybe he'll live out his life in Oklahoma. But holy cow, unbelievable.
I mean, look at what we've done today. We've got Texas people bragging on Oklahoma people. I mean, this is the Lord's work here, Digger.
Look,
I mean, this is
not bragging, just telling you like it is. That's how it was back then, uncontrolled. Did you hear what Barry said this morning?
I did not. I did not. You just told me.
NIL means. He said, "You know what NIL means?" And Wimp said, "No. What is it?" He said, "It means now it's legal." Yeah, that's what we were dealing with. They were buying players back in the 70s. Okay, and never got caught because nobody ever wanted to go to Oklahoma because there's nothing out there but trailers and a big bowling alley for tornadoes. Yeah, so it is what it is. And of course, they hate all of us. But I find it very interesting. Did you check his phone number? Is he calling from a 512 area code?
I'm not going to discuss that.
Well, yeah, I think he's living in Austin. As much as he hates Texas, he's living in Austin. What is up with that? Right. I love it. So, yeah, you're telling me I hate them. They're sitting there swimming around. They can't stand us.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. But
living in the state is different.
Let me
than
just say
hating
this:
school.
We're not going to discuss that, but you're wrong. You're the wrong number, but that's okay. I mean, Digger,
right,
it won't be the
just
first time. It won't be the first time. You're wrong about a lot of stuff here on the game.
He was not. No.
Especially when we start talking about championships.
He was living in Austin. He ran for office in Austin, along with those California migrators. Okay, I'm telling you.
Well, he was
So
he was a smart guy, man. He got out of there. He got out of there. All right.
All right, let you go.
Roll Tide. Thanks. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. Cowboy, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Man, how do I top that after going after Digger? Does Digger rhyme with Dicky?
I'm trying to be nice. I mean, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice, trying to be respectful, but it's a challenge.
What did that guy on your show a few months ago call Matt Moscona down here in Florida? A condom on the head or something? What did he call him?
Which one now?
Some guy, one of your callers, called Matt Moscona a ball head.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did. That's my buddy, though. Listen, man, all of us talk radio guys, they got to stick together. But he's had a rough couple of weeks. And something tells me that Alabama win down there. I mean, if you're Bryce Underwood and you're sitting there watching the Tide come down and spank you, and you want to go up against Kalen DeBoer every year, he's probably going, nah, that's all right. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there was some money out there, but if the money was equal, and you're going, no thanks, I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
Yeah, they think they live for another day. You never know.
Well, the problem is now, and we were, Simon had pulled it up during the break. They have no backup plan. So they're going to have to get on their hands and knees and plead for Garrett Nussmeier to come back. Because they don't have a quarterback. They put everything in this guy right here.
I don't think they want Nussmeier back. I mean, he's okay, but they want to move on from him. I don't blame him. I mean, he's a good guy, but he's not going to beat anybody.
All right. Well, Brian Kelly, and you know a lot more about this than I do, but with Brian Kelly kind of, I'm not saying a hot seat, but an uncomfortable seat, okay? The portal gives you an option if you go there and struggle, but do you want to go there with that? I mean, you have no defense that has your back.
Well, Brian Kelly's got the Heisman Trophy winner tearing it up in the NFL. It's going to be Rookie of the Year. So, he's got a body of work there to speak for itself. Don't forget that, Ryan.
Well, you better go get you some defensive guys, too. Offense was not the problem last year. If it hadn't been offense, they wouldn't have had the success they did. But
he thought by bringing in your hero out of Tuscaloosa, Bo Davis, they're going to get the defensive line looking better.
Yeah, man, I like Bo.
I know. I had to hit you where it counts.
I know you did,
You starting to talk out of line a little bit.
Well,
Ryan.
I appreciate you, Cowboy. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Digger rhymes with Dicky. I'll leave it at that on him. Now, do you know a good Oklahoma story? I got one for you. This is a classy story. Coach Bryant in the early 50s, late 40s, he went to a coaching clinic out at Oklahoma. And Bud Wilkerson had him set up with a young coach. And to show him around, make him feel at home and comfortable. They struck up a real lifelong friendship. And Coach Bryant's escort was Darrell Royal.
Oh, wow.
Darrell Royal took him around, showed him around, Norman, helped him with the coaching clinic, and anything Coach Bryant needed, Darrell was there to assist him and help him. And they developed a lifelong friendship. And that's what college football is really all about. You read that story, and Darrell Royal was a classy coach. It's hard to believe Digger went to the school he coached for, because Digger needs to take from Coach Royal some class, But that's a a great story. Bud Wilkerson and Coach Bryant were really good friends. There's a lot of commonness between the Alabama and Oklahoma program.
Sure there is.
And I'm telling you, Oklahoma's a proud program. They may be down right now, but they're not going to stay down long. They'll get the AD out there because he's still stuck in 2000 with Bob Stoops and Josh Heupel. And I know somebody, and you know him. He was in Tuscaloosa. He's been at Clemson. He was at Oklahoma for a short time. But he knows that Oklahoma's got to step the game up if they want to be in the SEC. But they'll have enough guys that's got some oil tanks out there and a few quarter horses and whatever else that Digger makes fun of in Oklahoma, and they'll get this thing right, and they'll get Castellone into retirement because you can only stay AD so long. And he's been there since the mid-'90s. And it's time for him to go to the pasture. And also, Mr. Castellone didn't pay off the schedule maker too well for the SEC because they got a horrible schedule. Just think, after Alabama, they got to go to LSU the next week. You know?
All right, Cowboy, I got to run, man. I'm out of time.
Hey, I just had to bring you back to earth.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, that's what you're there for. And I mean, you're the guy that, you know, you're drinking a glass of Kool-Aid in the middle of a 100-degree day in August and you knock it out of my hand. Thanks, Cowboy.
Hey, make sure Digger rhymes with Dickie.
Thanks. Thanks. I will tell you tomorrow morning, seize the deal, 8 a.m., 12:50 for Texas Roadhouse for a $25 gift card. That's 50% off for the Auburn folks in the back of the room. Texas Roadhouse, Tide109.com, Tide109.com. Let's take care of one more business item. Join Tide 100.9 WTBC Saturday for the Tide Tailgate Show, presented in part by Academy Sports with our new location on Highway 280 in Birmingham. The Tide Tailgate Show is a part of Game Day all day on Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC. That starts at 1:30 on Saturday. Game Day all day. Let's go to Ellis, Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Good afternoon, Ryan Fowler.
Roll Tide.
Good interview today.
Well, thank you.
The ball.
Thank you.
Yeah, good, really good interview. Look like you was talking about people picking Alabama to win it all. There's like I'm seeing where there's a QB that used to play for Georgia is even saying that. That's telling you something.
I mean, a lot of things going on, man. A lot of things going on.
Yeah. But just ready for this weekend.
All right.
We can't.
Me too.
Yeah. Can't slip up and lose it. And I got gas for $2.15, Ryan Fowler. I got it 40 cents out.
All right. Roll Tide. Roll Tide. Thanks, Ellis. We appreciate that. Last duck through the hole.
Roll Tide, Ryan Fowler.
Hey, don't forget, tomorrow morning, seize the deal. Seize the deal. It is Texas Roadhouse, $12.50 for a $25 coupon. Seize the deal, Tide109.com. Tide109.com, $25 gift card to Texas Roadhouse. Even Auburn fans can do that. $12.50 for a $25 gift card, Texas Roadhouse. Seize the deal. It goes live at 8 a.m. Only a limited, so you got to go in and buy it quickly. Tide109.com. We thank our law enforcement officers, EMTs, firefighters, first responders, highway patrol. We thank you. We appreciate you. We remind you that we call this program The Game. And the only way that you win a big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Good night, T-Town.
Listening to The Game with Ryan Fowler, powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Red line on 359 in both the north and southbound lanes. At Skyland Boulevard, you have a southbound backup that's going to take you past 359 or make that 2059. And then that northbound delay, that's heavy back to 61st Street.
O'Reilly! You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Med Center Urgent Care Family Medicine, no appointment necessary. The super doctors who live and work in our community. If you're a little under the weather, we got to get you back to 100%. You can do that by visiting either location, Northport, Tuscaloosa, Demopolis, Fayette, North River, right off Rice Mine Road, Hoover off of Highway.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Renovation. Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
Northport Power Equipment, Husqvarna dealers, Skag, commercial mowers, and residential's Echo Hours.
Focus 50 Plus is holding a donation drive for items to help seniors enjoy the holiday season. Log on to focus50plus.org.
El Gran Patron Mexican Grill, 62 McFarland Boulevard, Monday through Thursday, 11 until 9:30, Friday and Saturday, 11 until 10:30, Sunday from 11 until 9. All that great Mexican cuisine that you're looking for.